Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to week number 2 of SCS. My name is Salco, and tonight I am joined by Santos and Blue Panda for the first series of week number 2, and it's going to be a fun one between First Attempt and InControl Nation. How are you guys doing tonight?
I mean, I'm excited. I'm coming into this. We've got some great teams, and there's definitely a lot to break down going into it. I'm excited to be casting with Santos again. Obviously, having you on the desk, Salco, it's gearing up to be a great start to week number 2.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here as well. I can't breathe in this mask like at all. So I'm going to take it off. I think we were doing the Halloween thing. But yeah, as you guys said, very excited to be here. Very excited to watch this first matchup. InControl Nation versus First Attempt is definitely going to be it's going to be a very good series.
I would 100% have to agree with you guys on that one. I mean, both these teams are coming in hot with a couple changes. I mean, first off, we see First Attempt, who last week had to play with their coach and substitute Stokes. So that sort of threw them off a little bit, and I think might have contributed to how that first week outcome sort of went. But just today, they played in Omega CL, and I saw that they had a 2-0 result over one of our old Season 3 teams, Fractured Memories. So coming off that hot of a game, they're going to be looking really strong tonight. So what do you think the impact, I'm going to push this one over to Santos first off, is going to be of having Jewel back in the lineup instead of Stokes for this one?
Well, you said it yourself, right? Like the oh my god, what is my
your camera? Hello.
I do this all the time. I don't know what's happening to my face cam, but I'm going to keep on going. But you said it yourself. First Attempt with their win 2-0 in Omega CL. That's definitely something to put your backs on, kind of ride on throughout the course of this SCS matchup. And having Joel back in the lineup versus having Stokes, obviously your team synergy is going to be a little bit better. And I think in that Omega CL matchup, that's exactly what showed up there. So look for them to play a little bit better. I know their record is 1 loss to 1 loss and 1 loss OT, but I don't think that's going to tell the full story in our matchup here today.
Yeah, Toast. I mean, really good insight on that one. I think I have to agree with you there that the 2 losses really don't show how well they played last week, and especially with a sub as well. So coming in today with their full lineup, who you've practiced with for a long time, these guys have been together for a couple months now. I think that they're going to be looking really solid. But for InControl's sake, Blue, I'm going to throw this question over to you. I don't know how much you've seen these 2 players, but InControl actually comes in hot with some spicy roster changes. They are going to be picking up Navozo and Exile so far for the remainder of the season now. And these are really hot T3 players in NA right now. What do you think is that going to do to InControl?
I mean, unfortunately, I'm not as familiar with these guys as I'd like, but I know there was a lot of hype around it. There was some excitement for sure. And I mean, coming into this week, I think we can all sort of agree that both teams in week number 1 didn't necessarily perform to our expectations. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was reasonably close for First Attempt in their matchup, but, having a sub in, especially given who that sub was, that we expected maybe a little bit more. Clubhouse for them looked incredibly weak. And InControl Nation, they look strong off the bat, and then map number 2, they dropped it. So coming into this week, it's going to be very interesting, especially given that these are 2 maps we're looking at. They largely play the same stuff. So First Attempt played Cafe and then Club. InControl Nation played Oregon Club. So there's potential we see them on something they're not used to, which, I mean, puts them on unfamiliar ground. And it really could go either way. There's potential, I would say, for an upset in favor of First Attempt, given the first week results. But I mean, again, it could be a very clean, very close match, especially given that Jewel is now back in that roster, that synergy, that familiarity. But these 2 new, wild cards coming in for InControl Nation could upset that balance.
Awesome, Blue. Thanks a ton on that one. I'm looking forward to this week in particular, as well as some of the matchups, especially right now. And I think that the maps that are going to be played are really interesting, because if we look, if you've never watched SCS before, we have an auto ban system, and that means that the maps that these teams pick in the previous week. So for example, in the bottom left of your screen, you see that First Attempt banned Cafe and InControl banned Oregon. Those are the auto bans from last week. So we take those out of the equation, sort of keeps things interesting, keeps things spiced up. And with First Attempt as well, they elected to actually ban Clubhouse. So we're going to Villa, we're going to Theme Park. Villa is another one of those common maps that you see in T3, but at the same time, Theme Park is one that you often see banned. So I think that one is going to be probably the highest contention map right here, because both teams are going into it potentially at a disadvantage. I don't know how much either of these teams have scrimmed that map or prepared for it, but I think it'll be an exciting one nonetheless, and we might see some really off-meta bans coming out. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the statistics that we had from the previous weeks. I'll let you guys sort of talk about your teams there. and what they had to offer in the previous one. So, Toast, I already asked you some questions about first attempt, my friend. So how about you go ahead and take over and look at the statistics from week number 1?
Right. So the biggest things that are showing up here, obviously Jules back in the lineup, but look at these cost numbers from Casper, PK, and Bloom. They're going to be looking to improve that quite a bit, especially from Bloom sitting at that 39%. So if you don't know what cost means, it's basically just having impact on the round, just having a noticeable impact, whether that be getting a refrag, planting the bomb, things like that. Obviously, you know, you played with Stokes, you played with the Blue-Eyed White Dragon last week, and you know, having Jewel in the lineup is definitely going to help that synergy just a little bit as we keep discussing. But also, you need to expect a little bit more from your entry players as well as your support. Excuse me. You know, everyone going negative, that's definitely just not an outcome that you want. But also having the relatively low cost numbers, it's something that they're going to be looking to improve on this week.
Yeah, Toast.
Yeah, I mean, oh, sorry.
Blue. Yeah, my bad.
I was just gonna jump in, but like saying, we saw a couple of very, I mean, absurd rounds is probably the best way to describe it. I mean, their attack on Cafe, they wasted an insane amount of utility just on one player, still couldn't get the kill and lost a player for the commitment. So there's some questionable decisions that have been making. You got to wonder if maybe these guys could be a bit quick to tilt. So I'm interested to see, yeah, can they bring it back? Can they get themselves out of this, you know, the shadow of this rough first week and bring it back? And then, I mean, especially given looking at their opponents, they're looking pretty solid at the moment.
They are 100% looking really solid here. I mean, previous week, we only have data on 3 of the players because we did see a couple of those roster changes come through. But I mean, look at Bone, especially. I would highlight him as a flex player coming in with a +9 kill differential, excuse me. And cost rating is really impactful as well. I mean, he's helping out his team in 70% almost of the rounds that have been played. So that is something you love to see there. And then Coj as well. He has got a monster of an opening kill, opening death system there going on. And all these players are looking really strong. And Novozo and Exile, it's going to be interesting to watch them in their first week in SCS and exactly how they're going to, you know, sort of react. But wow, let's go ahead and take a look at the operator statistics then as well and see sort of what we were dealing with from our previous week. So what surprises you guys the most about this one? I'm going to throw this one back over to Toast. For the attacker side of things, anything really strike you as wild or out of the blue or what?
I would mainly put it down to like the lack of prevalence for Ace, Snowman, and Thatcher. You know, Ace I would consider to be one of the stronger hard breaches, but definitely everything is sort of situational. And you know, the Maverick is a big operator pickup right now because you know if you're on the R6 Twitter, you've probably seen this video by now, but there is a way to more efficiently Maverick trick pretty much any of the soft walls. The Clubhouse one comes to mind. And I think that's gonna show its ugly head here. You know, we're gonna see the villa as well as the theme park. So, you know, I think Ace's operator pickup percentage is going to raise just a little bit, as well as we might see a thermite if the Ace might as well get banned. So, you know, I think there's gonna be a lot of interesting sort of pickups here. What about the defense, Blue?
I mean, we're seeing some interesting stuff. Jaeger, no surprises there. In fact, you know, I think he was 95% last season. He's full whole hog at the moment. He's 100%. Malusi just has proven how impactful she is. There's a reason she's sitting this high in the pick rate. The interesting thing is, in my mind at least, Wemai is seeing less play than I thought we would potentially see. I would 100% attribute that to ban factor. He is being banned out more and more often. But just the impact that he offers, or rather the denial of that impact that he offers, is so monumentally strong. He's got the shield, he's got a pretty solid firearm as well, and either the AUG or that MP5. So it's interesting to me that he's not sitting just a little bit higher than he is.
Yeah, sure, Blue. I would be surprised as well, but at the same time, you have to wonder. I mean, you know, Jaeger being the god of Rainbow Six Siege right now, maybe he's just being picked out for that reason alone, I guess. But Wamai is still a very valuable operator, so this week might change a little bit. But taking a look at the standings right now, both InControl, and First Attempt looking like they're in the midfield sort of right now for these teams. They need to kick up a notch if they want to get into the top 6, but it is still very early in the season here, so they've got plenty of time to do so. And I'm potentially looking at both of these teams sort of trading 1-for-1 on the maps tonight, knowing how good both of them are and exactly what they're going to be bringing out on these two unconventional, I want to say, maps for our rotation. So we'll see exactly what goes on. Do you guys have any other predictions that you might see from this week or anything that really surprises you?
I mean, as much as I could go through my predictions, I've really found that these matches are getting a lot more close than I would particularly like if I want to be, playing off of the predictions here. These teams, they've come into this, they're playing incredibly well. We do have confirmation in chat, though. We are going to be sending it live. We'll have to break it down going into the next one, unfortunately, Salco. But, San, shall we get into it? Map number 1 of Villa here between InControl Nation and First Attempt. Both teams looking to start making a statement here in the tournament, because as good as InControl Nation looked at map number 1, they really struggled on map number 2. And if that happens, they could give up a number of maps here. In First Attempt, they're finally trying to get on the board.
Yeah, First Attempt is definitely if you've looked at our staff predictions, we all kind of wrote off First Attempt, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to follow the mold. As I say that, the ace is actually going to get banned, but yeah, I don't want to write First Attempt off. Having Jewel in the lineup makes them that much stronger. No disrespect to Stokes, but just being in a coach's perspective and then getting thrown onto the battlefield is definitely a difficult situation. But our second ban is going to come out, and that's going to be a Thatcher ban. So a lot of the utility dump is going to be made just that much more difficult with that ban.
Yeah, on the defensive side, I wouldn't be surprised if we see, the standard stuff. Mira, probably, I would imagine, a Wemai coming in here. Like I said, it's that ban that has seen a rise in priority for a lot of teams. Cade, even a possibility on this map. It's really going to come down. Yeah, there we go. Wemai, just called it.
You did just call it, and you gotta, the balancing sort of has to make sense a little bit, right? That's the whole reason why you take the Wamai off the board. Just being able to throw those flashbangs wherever you need to, and it's obviously easier to count when you are just taking out some Jaeger ADSs. But the Cade is going to be the second ban, so it's going to be a little bit easier to get those walls. I imagine you maybe bring a mute, maybe bring a bandit, but it's going to be interesting to see, how the wall denial is going to play out in this matchup, especially with Ace not being on the board. But yeah, I'm ready for this matchup. It's going to be a dining room and kitchen defense first from First Attempt. And what do you want to see from this defense here?
Well, I mean, they've already got the gear, the makings of a great defense. You got the Bandit and the Mute coming, as well as the Mozzie on Jewel. So information denial, breach denial. They are going to switch off from PK onto the Pulse. Again, another great pick. I'm loving it already. And I mean, Santos, we are potentially going to see 4 Nitro Cells here off the bat in round number 1. And there's a couple of names floating around at SCS. I prefer mine. Helen and Nitro Cell coming into play. Round number 1 here on Villa. The floor is lava if you're on the second. And I mean, coming into this InControl, they have to be wary. They have to be understanding that there is that considerable threat from below, especially given that Pulse has been 6 picked in. This could be absolutely brutal if they're not careful.
Yeah, if they're not careful, they're definitely going to feel the wrath of some of these Nitro Cells, as you said. And yeah, 4 on the board here. So PK is going to be that sort of impactful operator in the First Attempt lineup here. He's going to be able to give the most current information, unless you, of course, are able to steal some of the drones from these Mozzie pest devices. But it's mainly, yeah, it's going to be PK trying to feed this vertical information to allow the Nitro Cells to really do their work. And obviously, the vertical control is a very prevalent part of attacking onto the kitchen. So it's going to be interesting to see how First InControl, is going to be able to take the map control. And it seems like we're going to have a little bit more of an extended roam here from First Attempt, which is going to deny that sort of vertical pressure a little bit early and waste a little bit of time off the board.
Yeah, and they've got a pretty decent spread at the moment. There's a couple of players downstairs, a couple of players upstairs, so they want to control as much of the map as they can, relying on PK for that information. XL taking some big damage. Casper gonna open things up with a big frag onto the Ash player here. One of the newbies in this InControl roster, and losing out that early is going to be rough. They find a second off the bat. Bone going down. He's going to have that withstand, picks himself up off the back of the Nitro Cell. But look, First Attempt, they're already playing on the front foot. They're being aggressive. They're starting this control phase of Villa. And at the moment, this is not what we expected coming into it.
No, not what we've expected at all. And a lot of the members of InControl Nation are already feeling the brunt of this verticality, this counter verticality, I should say. Another Nitro Cell is going to come out, and that's 2 off the board. Unfortunately, the second one does not net positive, and Casper is actually in a position to contest onto the bathroom as well. The gun patient's coming out here, and Novozo and the sledge of Yusuke is going to fall as well, leaving just 2 members of InControl Nation. And all of this vertical pressure just cannot happen now. I know we still have breach charges on Bone, but Bone is just a couple bullets away from getting fragged out on his own right. So our first attempt defense, their first attempt defense is definitely working out for them, and PK is actually going to pick up another. So it's going to be Bone alone in a 1v5, and it's been a dominant round here for first attempt.
I mean, at the moment, it's looking dire to start things off here for InControl. I mean, Kojin was staring through the bathroom doorway, looking towards Astro. PK was below, ready and waiting through the Nitro Cell. No movement whatsoever. In fact, the information is just fed to Jewel. He runs and finishes it off. First attempt with a flawless round to kick things off. This is a vastly different team than what we saw last week.
Absolutely so much different. And you know, to first attempts credit, right, they were thrown basically into the fire last week playing up against our defending champions of Wichita Wolves. And yeah, just some very strong fragging power coming out here from first attempt. I think that, you know, there was a very strong defense from them overall, and I think InControl Nation is going to be scratching their heads just a little bit going into our next round, because they really weren't able to take any control at all. There were no real close gunfights, and yeah, a lot of what first attempt was doing went relatively unpunished. So it's going to be interesting to see what adjustments InControl Nation is going to be making into this next round.
Yeah, especially that statuary push. It was interesting, you know, Novozo, he swung in looking left when Casper was clearly... They had a drone. Kojin saw him. So they knew he was sitting in behind the statue, which is interesting. It was a huge misplay. It did cost them 2 players off the back of that. As Yusuke, he did push in. He was very low on the back side of it. They couldn't find the swing that they needed. And yeah, it really just was detrimental to what they were trying to do. Now, coming into round number 2, it's ABG. It's a much more straightforward bomb site. First attempt, they can breathe a little bit easier here, having dealt with the harder of the 3 standard bomb sites. Now they can coast through ABG and split site if they want to. It's going to come down to the attack, 100%. Bone, we saw last week this huge impact player that he can be. Really, he lives up to that flex name. He can play almost anything that the team needs. 9 times out of 10, he's bringing the right operator for the situations, but switching between... He was the sledge player last week, switching between the Buck, the Carly at times even. So I'll be interested to see if he finds that momentum, that flexibility once again, or if now that they've got these two new players in, he's going to be relegated to this entry role.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Right, and he has the perfect operator to do it, with Zofia definitely being one of the strongest operators, as shown by our pick rates that we showed to you guys earlier. But yeah, the InControl attack last round was not strong, and Exile is actually looking to take a lot of map control relatively early. He's going to be already inside of trophy, yeah, and he's going to be doing a little bit of the self-droning here. So the information game as well as the control game is working well for InControl. Mind my pun, excuse me. And the swing is actually going to come out here from PK. It was a little ill-advised though, and Kojin's going to be able to get the kill, but not until Jewel is able to get a refrag. But Yusuke able to get the refrag on Jewel, and Jewel's round is going to end. And overall, I think this was a net positive for InControl.
Yeah, losing on the Legion that early is never a good time on the defense. The longer he's there, obviously, the longer he can start to impact rounds. The more goo mines out, the harder it is. You're going to find your time executing onto the bomb site. At the moment, it seems InControl Nation are setting up for a bit of pinch into Aviator here. Novozo is backside. Yusuke, he's decided to drop down, might look for some frag grenade plays for a blow. In fact, he might even just be going to study balcony. We'll know in a moment when he does get there. But look at first attempt. They're holding their angles. They're playing smart. Casper is in Aviator behind the couch. They're just waiting for InControl to come to them. That's probably the best approach they could look for here. Play the time, play the clock, wait for the attackers to force the fight, and then hope that your aim rings out true. And Casper, he's going to take some damage, pulls himself back into Hunting Vault, and then we see elsewhere the pressure coming in onto 90. But Bloom, he's going to be the one to bring it back even. Yusuke does go down to a Nitro Cell. And Bait, he's still slowing things down. Toxic canisters in hand, blocking off that doorway into Aviator. They could do this 100%, or Banshee giving away the position of Bone. And Bloom is on the hunt. No, Bone, he pulls off at the last minute, and Navozo, he's going for the plant. Shield is there as well. Lot to consider here on the attack. They do get the diffuser down just behind the vault door, purely off the back at Casper pulling off, and Bone, he's going to find Bloom. He finds Bait as well. He goes for the peek out onto Casper, but can't do it. The Older's just too strong, and Santos, what looked like it could have been contestable, is looking a bit dire here for first attempt.
It's a bit of a tough situation, but you do have the gun to do it. 28 bullets remaining on the Alder. The flashbangs are coming out, and there's just a lot to watch over if you are Casper. But only 5 bullets remaining here, and he has dumped the mag, so it's going to be up to the bailiff here. Actually, he's going to opt to reload, but it's all looking like it's for naught, as we are approaching the 7.5 second timer, and he's just going to be looking to stat pad a little bit. But instead of stat padding, he actually makes his stat line just look a little bit worse, and Navozo's able to get that final kill, and that round looked a lot stronger from InControl.
Yeah, definitely the switch. Unfortunately, it isn't enough to just hold your angles and wait for the attackers to push. You got to win the gunfights off the back of it as well. Bone, yeah, he's coming to round 2. He's looking a little bit stronger here. Found 2 frags on his own before going down to Casper. And if he can do that sort of thing again, 100% we could see InControl Nation starting to string together some more rounds. We are going to be heading back to Aviator games once again. It was a rough defense. That much is for certain. But we're already seeing a couple of changes. PK not going to be given the Jaeger. It's going to go over to Bloom. We're going to see a Valkyrie come out instead. Information is the name of the game in this round. They want to know, and they want to have as much time as possible to prep themselves for that attack, know where their opponents are coming from, and from there they can start to, actually contest these gunfights.
Yeah, I was actually going to talk a little bit about the lack of information that first attempt had in that last round, and that really allowed InControl Nation to just push onto that trophy side as freely as they wanted to, pretty much. And, first attempt was, just searching for information and just not really able to act on anything as far as that round goes. And obviously Bone was able to sort of open up that attack, and InControl was looking like they were hitting a little bit of a brick wall, but then Bone getting those 2 frags was absolutely just the biggest turning point in that round, in my opinion. So yeah, opting for the Valkyrie here is going to make that defense just a little bit more strong, as well as the amount of info that Maestro Cams can give you as well. I think these adjustments are profitable for first attempt, and they're just going to be looking to sort of play off the run game a little bit more and not give up so much map control as quickly as they did last round.
Yeah, information. I mean, Rainbow succeeds. It's a tactical first-person shooter, and a huge part of the tactical execution coming out of both sides is around information. So the Black Eyes will be doing as much as they can. They've also got the Evil Eyes coming out of the Maestro, so there's plenty of information gathering potential here for first attempt. And it really comes down to how they execute off it, how they use it, and how they look to counter this attack. And already InControl, they're positioning themselves, they're droning out. They're looking to find the early aggressive angles. From there, they can turn it into advantages and execute onto the bomb site like we saw in the last round. But this camera could be huge. If they catch off Cogent, if they find the hard breach early, they could deny the direct route into the site. And PK already looking to aggress early. Cogent's there. He's pulled off the rappel. The run out. Unfortunately for Cogent, he cannot win the gunfight. All the advantages, all the information. The refrag is there, but so is Bloom. He's going to get the trade again onto Yusuke. So quick frags going both ways. But unfortunately, the final advantage and final say goes the way of first attempt.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a very just ill-advised run out from PK, but he is able to net the Hibana, and Bone is actually going to be able to get the first kill one of the first kills from InControl onto Jewel, and that's going to be Jewel falling. That's the Legion again, and you don't want to lose him this early into the round. There still is a minute of gameplay left in this round here, and Navozo is just going to be looking to burn the ADSs that are in 90, and they're going to be looking to push into 90 as rapidly as possible. They don't have any hard breach remaining because of the fall of Kojin, but I still think that InControl has a little bit of room to play with here, just being able to play inside 90 and potentially contest onto this deployable shield. But unfortunately, Casper is going to be able to get Exile, who I think it was just not watching your feet, and the kill through the drone hole is definitely something, definitely somewhat of a highlight here. And Bone and Navozo is going to be looking to push in. Bone with a very nice shot onto Bloom, and that's a double kill on the round there for him.
Bone doesn't care what the man advantage is. He's going to try and even out as best he can, pushing through the toxic canister though. Unfortunately, when you can't see your opponents to shoot them, there's not too much you can do. And despite his best attempts, a much better round for first attempt. Ironically, in the second attempt of this bomb site, they're going to get it out, and 2-1 advantage established now. They need to continue to work it. They need to push that advantage as much as possible. And this bomb site definitely speaks towards that. They're going to be heading back down to familiarity, back down to dining and kitchen. And I mean, we know how well it went for them last time. It was a flawless round win.
It was a very good round coming from their previous kitchen defense. Obviously, the flawless round came out last time. And I really think it was just up to the lack of ability from InControl Nation to get the information down onto the top floor, because they were losing a lot of HP to a lot of the nitro cells, and then just losing gunfights as well. Obviously, that missed drone, that miscommunication off the player playing behind statue. I think it was the Jaeger last round. I can't remember if it was Casper, but yeah, that was just the turning point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, right? It was the turning point of that round for sure, and it's going to be crucial for them to sort of have that information and just be able to take a fair gunfight, because obviously, you know, you don't have to peek everything if you're the defense. You kind of just need to be able to watch angles, and InControl is going to be looking to just sort of establish dominance throughout the round, or throughout the map, excuse me, and just deny any sort of rotations that can be made, which are crucial on this bomb site.
Yeah, I mean, we see one big adaptation already from first attempt. Despite the fact they won it flawlessly, no Melusi this time. It is going to be a Vigil instead, so that roam presence is going to be a little bit heavier. And it seems that InControl Nation, they're a little bit concerned right now. We see the line coming out, and we also see aggressive peek onto Ruins, but no one's going to be falling for it. Unfortunately, my friend, the K1 going to secure your kill off the bat. Will rotate out a study. They are aware that he is there. The door was broken, so they have information that there is presence over the southern side. But that EE1D, hugely impactful if you can pull it off at the right time, especially when the roamers are trying to execute back onto the bomb site, try and deny a plant when attacker presence is there. So it's going to come down to timing. If Yusuke can time it well, he can 100% turn this round in favor of it.
Bomb located by attackers.
Yeah, the line is definitely the operator to watch out for in this defense. And it seems like the InControl strategy is going to be try to push up pantry. Meanwhile, your other three players are going to be pushing from the opposite side of the map, the south side, and just try to establish that map control and sort of funnel first attempt into a sort of box. And the drone work is going to be coming out here from the players playing on side of pantry, and the aggressive peaks are going to come out. But unfortunately, I think Yusuke was not looking forward to falling through that hash, and he's instead going to have to try and reestablish that angle a little bit. But a lot of time is being wasted here from first attempt.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's the name of the game. Time wasted. And Yusuke dropping down the hatch. It's another couple of seconds that he has to spend getting upstairs. But Kojin, he's going to find Bloom. The roam of the Vigil now shut down, as well as the roam of Casper being shut down. Two big frags going the way of InControl Nation, and they're executing with 4 members onto the bomb site. Bait, though, he's going to do what he can to shut it down. SMG-11 in hand finds kill onto Exile. PK there as well in support. He's going to find a second. Navozo going down. Jewel! Bait finds a third. PK finds the last! Another clean sweep out there in the dying moments after the fuse goes down. Not a flawless round win, but boy, what a convincing one.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, Bloom and Casper falling, what happened there onto that roam? But I guess it doesn't matter, because your site players were just absolutely insane. The Nitro Cells came out at the perfect time, and they were able to get multiple kills and really just shut down any of the post-plant potential that InControl Nation, had in that round. And that was wow, that was a retake of the century, and it really only took about 5 seconds. I was looking at the defuse timer when they got that bomb down, and once all was said and done, only about 7 seconds had ticked off the diffuser. So the retake was just so strong there from first attempt, despite giving up the control on kitchen. You know, InControl Nation didn't really have any control to sort of counter that counterplay. And yeah, first attempt looking a lot stronger than they did last week.
Yeah, I mean, Bait coming into this triple kill in the last round, all with the secondary SMG-11 and Jewel. What is this? He's going to stick it in with the 6-pick. Warden going to be making his way to Tuscany here for a bit of a vacation, joining up with the rest of the guys. And I don't know if this was maybe a read into something, but there's no Ying. There's a little bit of utility, nothing significant. It's only 9 flash grenades overall. So we'll see where they look to play it, because we've seen a couple of rounds where Warden has popped off already in SCS, and if he can do it again, I mean, he's proven to be quite scary.
I mean, yeah, you bring in the Warden, obviously you have that MPX, which is, you know, not the best body shot weapon, but you do open yourself up to having the 1.5 scope, which is just going to help you land those precision shots just a little bit better. And yeah, you talked about Warden's impact here in SCS. Obviously, you have the deployable shield, so that's just one more thing that the defense has to deal with. And inside our current, you know, sort of utility burn meta, that's definitely a strong operator pick to bring. You know, obviously not a lot of flashbangs to deal with, but that's exactly why you bring the Jaeger. So the execute is, I think, it's going to be made that much harder here from InControl. They don't have any smoke grenades either, so I suppose that's part of the neutralization of the Warden. But again, just some very quick map control being established here from InControl, who is currently taking into study, but the gunfights are actually starting early here. Just some pre-fires coming out here from Exile, and it's an interesting pickup here, you know, using the G36C as opposed to the R4C with the 1.5 scope.
I think it's more for the quick aim down sights with the angle. I think she's running the angle grip. That's what it looks like anyway.
Right.
But not to mention the 1.5 times. It's not Sweet Dreams, unfortunately. No 2 times on the R4C. It really is just a dream, unfortunately, for these guys. And look at the setup. There's a lot of preemptive vertical angles that have been opened up on the inside of Master Bedroom. There was one just on that left-hand side of the statue and statuary as well. You can see it. They're looking to play around the vertical angles. They know the pre-planned plant sites. And if they can find those vertical angles, given that the players are below, well and truly could interrupt this attack coming out. Drones, though, they're on point here for InControl. They're looking to get that information. They're looking to give themselves their best shot at bringing it equal. And Bloom, he's in the bathtub right now as Yusuke opens up the window. Wants to get himself a bit clean so that he can slip out of there with a soap. But it's Navozo to open things up. Just ducks his head into statuary, takes out the Maestro. And unfortunately, no one there to refrag. Jules going to be the one to go for the recontest. And that's a big loss and a big lack of information that they didn't have that gave away a free kill.
I mean, hopefully the Maestro cameras haven't rotated to the correct orientations, but Exile is actually going to be able to take out Jules. So that's going to be the Warden off the board. No more Ned Flanders in this year round, but InControl Nation is just looking absolutely scary right now. The legs are going to pop out here for a little bit, and that's enough for Bone to take the shots out. But Bloom is going to be able to get the kill onto Yusuke, and despite the amount of control InControl Nation has, first attempt still has a chance here, but Exile actually going to lose the gunfight onto the person playing inside Astro. So Bloom is the only person remaining here for the side of first attempt, and the diffuser is going to be threatened out. Oh, what a shot there from Bloom. Just the double tap there on the Exile. Navozo is going to be trying to get the plant down. Bloom with only a fraction of HP left to play onto, and it's just looking like a very tall task for him. It's looking damn near impossible, but he's going to try his damnedest. He's going to not look into the sort of coat check there area there, and Kojin is able to get the headshot onto him, and good round there from First Control to take their second win, excuse me.
Yeah, both of them were trying to play angles. Unfortunately, Kojin just had the better awareness at the end of the day. Not like it would have been a huge potential for comeback given just how low that Bloom was. He was definitely fighting an uphill battle in that situation. But 3-2 the scoreline. Could potentially be that 4-2 split. Could be a 3-3 split. It really comes down to how this plays out. And given that we're going back to Aviator games, it is 50-50 at the moment. Both teams have won it. But the second time around, it was a much, much cleaner defense coming out of first attempt. So we'll see. Remember, it initiated with PK going for that run out. He got refragged, and then the refrag happened again from, I believe it was Bloom playing on the Jaegers. So there's going to be a little bit of aggression, I anticipate, here coming into this round. The real question is, are InControl Nation going to be able to match that aggression, read into it, and avoid the disastrous situation of losing someone straight off the bat? Because if they can, it gives them that man advantage, gives Bone the room to work with, and we know exactly what work he can do pushing onto this bomb site.
Right, and if you take a look at the community vote, not a lot of people giving first attempt any sort of a chance in this here matchup, but obviously, you know, 78% are here for InControl Nation, but they're only on track to take about 50% of the rounds that we've had so far coming into the split. But, you know, first attempt have definitely shown a lot of improvements when compared to last week. Obviously, playing with your sub is definitely not an easy situation to deal with, let's say that. But, yeah, again, like you mentioned, it's going to come down to these just early fragfest gunfights here. And first attempt, if they're able to get that sort of opening pick again, obviously that's going to be a tide turner in the round, because InControl Nation in man disadvantage situations have looked relatively weak throughout the course of this matchup. And I think first attempt is going to look to sort of establish more control.
Yeah, I mean, it's just exactly it. And coming into this, it's AVG once again. Like I said, 50-50. They need to be playing their positions. They need to be communicating, using every single tool they can to shut down InControl Nation. And I 100% guarantee the community vote comes off of the fact that their performance last week, as I said in the intro, was rather lackluster. It's not what we expected coming out of them. I can understand why the vote has swung as far in favor of InControl Nation as it has. But look at the score. It's 3-2 at the moment. First attempt have been putting up a real show. And they looked very, very good on the attack in some of those rounds last week. So I'd be interested to see how they look to execute, especially here on Villa, which, I mean, it favors the verticality. If they can pull that off, they are going to be looking good going into the second half. But they're playing a lot safer this time around. No aggressive runouts from PK. They're using as much information as possible. In fact, they're opting for a deeper roam strategy here. And if PK can get on the backside, find an avenue up to impact the push from the attackers, this could be that 4-2 split that they're hoping for.
Yeah, again, first attempt is just going to be looking to sort of establish these angles and just try to funnel in the members of InControl Nation. But as I say that, Bloom able to take out Yusuke. That's going to be the sledge to fall, and I think that's an overall strong opening pick there, just because of how much fragging power Yusuke is bringing to the board. But Exile able to get the refrag there. That's going to be PK to fall. Obviously, the Valkyrie cams have already been deployed, so I don't think that's a lot of loss there. And InControl Nation just looking to sort of take on to 90. They're establishing map control relatively quickly here, and there's only 50 seconds left on the round here. That's a lot of time that you have to burn if you are first attempt, who actually are losing some bodies here. Casper is going to fall, and Jewel actually gets the refrag onto Kojin. So, first attempt. They do have a little bit of control here. They do have a little bit of room to work with, but unfortunately for them, InControl is looking to sort of push into the bomb site. But as I say that, Jewel with a nice shot there onto Exile as well, and first attempt with just a lot of control right now over this round.
It's first attempt looking to use every single advantage they can muster here. Playing the angles, Bloom swings out, finds one before going down. But Jewel is there once again. They're just playing the angles, playing the information game. And the fact that they've been able to find these frags in you know, what would arguably unfavorable situations just speaks to how they're coming together in this second week. Bloom was on a sliver of health, still found a frag before going down. That's exactly what you want to be doing in that situation, and they've got themselves that 4-2 half. First attempt could take their first one of the season here.
Yeah, first attempt looking very strong, but again, the split is just an opportunity for both of our teams here to just sort of take that mental reset. And if you're the side of first attempt, you're saying, hey, you know, we started off 4-2, let's finish this map off strong. If you're the side of InControl Nation, though, you have to be wondering to yourself, you know, first attempt looked very weak last week. What is going on with our team comms a little bit here? Obviously, you are playing with two different players from last week, two new roster pickups, we should say, and that could be affecting the synergy here just a little bit for them, and it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to be able to play on this defensive side here, knowing that maybe a little of the sort of coordination is going to be a little bit easier on the defense, and it's just going to come down again to team communication.
Yeah, and I mean, coming into this, you know, playing with two new players on the roster, it shifts the momentum. We saw that last week. Stokes had to step in. Yes, it was probably a case of that he wasn't as warmed up as he needed to be as well, but it can be a huge shift in momentum. It's not like Navozo or Exile have looked particularly bad. They just haven't been standout in their opening week so far. They're doing their job. They're finding some frags. They're contributing. That's exactly what you need. And Exile, he's looking to contribute a bit more here. Bit of a spawn peek from the second floor landing. Who's going to run in? He's going to see the first. Takes down the diffuser carrier of Casper. And that's a good way to step up in the second half, proving that he should be on this roster.
Yeah, Exile, that's a very common spawn peak. I'm sure that they're going to be kicking themselves just a little bit if you are Casper, but that's your Sophia to fall as well. And obviously, a lot of that utility burn has been taken off the board there with Casper. Obviously, you get 4 different sort of impact/concussions to use, and those are off the board almost immediately here with only 45 seconds lost on the round. So first attempt already looking a little bit weaker on this attacking side. Granted, you know, you can't really predict a spawn peak happening, but Yeah, I've seen that spawn peak just a few times, and you kind of have to expect that, especially at this level of play. Obviously, we try to bring the best of the best into the game, and losing to Zofia definitely just a very just unfortunate sort of spawn peak kill there for if you are first attempt. But good on Exile to use that 1.5 scope, that T5 SMG to his advantage there.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to remember, coming into this, all 3 maps that these teams played were banned out. So no Oregon, no Cafe, no Clubhouse. So both teams are going to be arguably on unfamiliar territory. Yes, they probably have these maps in their comp pool, but they're not going to be at the forefront. Like, you see teams go Cafe, Clubhouse, that's pretty much standard for T3. And Bone, he's going to run straight into the waiting arms of Jewel. 200, just too good in those situations. Probably helps that he swung the wrong way, but Bone, I mean, we saw how good he could be on the attack. Defense was really where he started to struggle, and that could be a bit of the shift that first attempt need to push this over the line. We know InControl Nation attack very well, but I mean, you need to be able to do both.
And Navozo actually able to get the refrag onto PK, and Exile actually another kill onto Jules. So Exile going off this round, Navozo also showing a little bit of positivity as well. And it's going to be up to Bait and Bloom here, the only 2 remaining members of. They don't have a lot of control to play off of, and they're going to be stuck here over by couches, and Bait just trying to peek all of the angles that he possibly can, just try to watch just every single sort of gunfight that could be taken here. He is going to get the pre-fires down, but unfortunately Yusuke actually able to get the kill onto him. So Bloom here alone in a 1v4 situation. This is just a very tough sort of situation that you found yourself in. He's getting fired at from multiple angles, but he does pull one back. Kojin is going to fall off in smoke, and 13 seconds left on the round. It's just, I think all of these kills are going to be for naught. Navozo is going to pre-fire that window that he has to jump through. Bloom is going to fall, and InControl Nation winning their first defense.
Here we see the Jaeger in his natural habitat, fragging out of his mind, just looking for kills. And that's exactly what Navozo did. In that round, that's exactly what you want. Exile and Navozo, they've come into this defensive half. They could be that factor that brings some strength to InControl Nation's defense. It hasn't been the strongest we've seen so far in the tournament. If Navozo and Exile keep playing like that on the defense, that has shored up a pretty decent weakness in the team. You have power on the strength. You've got Bone, who's going to be looking and fragging out of his mind. Yusuke as well, and Kojin, who we've seen excel on the attack. Navozo and Exile, they weren't the strongest, but if they have another performance like that on the defense, this is a very, very well-rounded team, and they could prove to be terrifying going into the later stages. Even I 100% believe can contest Wichita Wolves, but the real question is, was that a flash in the pan? Was it just that one-off situation? They need to keep doing it to prove that this is, you know, that well-rounded team that we're looking for.
I mean, you mentioned the flash of the pan situations, and obviously getting the spawn peak onto Casper really just sort of threw a bone in what first attempt had planned for that round. And I think, you know, losing Casper obviously in the spawn kill situation definitely sort of changes your attack just that little bit more. The adjustments were not made by first attempt in that round to sort of just try and pull one back, or maybe try to pull a little bit more control. And I think that just sort of put the nail in the coffin there for that round there. But InControl Nation, yes, a very strong defense there overall after that spawn peak as well. So I don't want to take any credit away from them, but first attempt is going to be looking to reset and refrag here, we should say, and it's going to be interesting to see how the attack is going to be in terms of, you know, how thorough they're going to be in trying to drone a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's all about that information. Unfortunately, the Mutant Mozzie combo is going to make it hard and or cogent. He's looking for something, looking for a play up on that balcony outside of Master Bedroom. If he can find something, could be huge, but he decides better of it. Just going to practice his flicks inside. And already, this round is going to be a very, very tense one. At the moment, Casper is the closest that he's been on the attack to get inside. Surprise fact there for you guys. It's really going to be a question as to whether or not he does get inside this round, but the first of the half wouldn't be bad. First attempt, they're taking a much more passive approach. They're looking for that information. Drones are much more key to their attack in the situation. As you see, very few players inside already. They're just waiting for that information to look for the execute, and just, this could be rough, especially given that the deep roam is there. Bloom, or does he know he's in a bit of a pinch here?
I think Bait is in a very strong spot here, but as you said, Bloom is currently looking to get pinched on, I believe here. He's sitting here inside of Memo and Kojin, and another operator is just sort of lurking around there. But as I say, that Casper actually able to get the kill onto Navozo. I'm pretty sure he was roaming on the first floor, and Bait actually able to take out Kojin as well. I was going to mention Bait playing in a strong position there onto that balcony. He's able to cut off the rotates into square, as well as try to adjust downwards and try to get kills of his own. Jewel actually able to get a headshot kill onto Bone there. So InControl Nation, the only members remaining there are Yusuke and Exile, and I'm pretty sure they are both off the site, maybe with the exception of Exile. So a lot of control here coming out here from first attempt, and they're going to be looking to just throw their bodies at these remaining members and try to get the kills here so they can get the bomb down. But the flashbangs are going to come out. Yusuke looking to get some kills of his own here. He's holding that Alda, such a strong gun there, but unfortunately just peeking out at the wrong time. Actually gets a couple kills onto PK and Bait. So Yusuke using the Alda to its strongest effect, and actually Exile is going to be able to even up that man count. And first attempt with such a strong roam clear, now stalling out here in the execute. And Exile actually holding on to Study. Yusuke is going to lose his life, unfortunate for him, but Casper and Exile are here alone in a 1v1 essentially. Exile here with the smoke grenades is going to be able to deny that plant. Casper actually doesn't have control of the diffuser, so he's just going to be looking to get the frags of his own. But 10 seconds remaining on the round. Casper is going to confirm the kill onto Yusuke and Exile here, just trying to hide and trying to preserve his life. And the diffuser actually getting planted here by Casper, and it might be a little bit too late here. Actually, he's going to look to get the diffuser down. It gets confirmed, and Exile losing a little bit more HP. It's a 1v1 gunfight. Both of these members of their respective teams could lose their life in one bullet. But Casper actually able to secure the round for first attempt. The execute was sloppy, but that doesn't matter that much. And first attempt here, taking yet another round.
I mean, Casper, the not-so-friendly ghost at the end of the day. It was the dancing, the positioning. Exile, I don't know what possessed him to make the run into Aviator. If he'd just gone straight round into Classical, he might have been able to contest a little bit more directly, but just the power differential between the M762 when you've got an advantageous position and the SMG11 at long range when you aren't guaranteed to know where your opponent is. And yeah, I mean, Casper just played that to perfection. Probably a little bit of frustration coming off the back of that last round. Wasn't too happy that he got spawn peaked. Comes into the next one. He says, you know what? This is mine. He finds the opener. He then gets in a position where it's a 1v2. Takes down Yusuke. Despite the monumental effort that was put in by Yusuke and Exile to bring it back to that 2v1. Unfortunately, they were just that low already at that point. The chip damage had been done by the rest of first attempt. It wasn't the hardest round for Casper to clutch out. So both teams did a lot of things very well. Unfortunately, it was just Casper who did it better at the end of the day.
I know we're doing the whole Halloween thing here. Would you say that he was haunting some of what InControl Nation was looking to do in that round? Maybe a little bit of
I can tell you for sure that round will haunt InControl Nation going into the rest of this series. It's one of those rounds where, on paper, in the dying moments, you should have had it, but it just didn't go that way in the end. So I think, yeah, it's going to be a source of frustration. It will haunt their thoughts a little bit going into map number 2. If the same thing happens, it's one of those things that can break morale and cause you to crumble under pressure. But already coming into round number 9, we see some changes. Bloom going to be bringing out the Twitch this time, something a little bit different, trying to deal with some of that information denial potential. Take out the mute jammers if you can from a distance with the taser. The big problem, though, that they're going to be facing is the pests. If one of those shock drones does get pested up, I mean, Kojin is just going to have a great time, you know, driving around the map, trying to snipe out those other drones and deny even more information away.
Yeah, Bloom is going to be looking to use that Twitch drone, as you mentioned, but he has to tread lightly, knowing that there is a Mozzie on the board, and actually Exile is in a position to try and deny any of this sort of information game. Just the drone game is going to be a little bit more careful here. If you're Bloom here, he doesn't want to peek out with his drone, and he's actually trying to contest with Exile. Exile is going to be able to get the kill onto the drone, and you know, a lot of information game is coming out here from InControl, who is looking to just trying to force their way into the study room. And Casper actually able to get the opening frag there onto Kojin. That was your loose roamer there, but you also lose the nitro cell. And I think overall, that's not a good opening death if you are Kojin.
Yeah, again, I think it plays into the fact that, you know, Casper spawn peeked out in the first half of the second round. Is that how we're going to play it, guys? All right. Okay, I'm switching it on. He's looking for the frags. He's going to go impact the rest of this round. Unfortunately, they do lose Jewel after that, and the air jab's not going to be fully placed, I don't believe. And that's the roam denial. That's what you want to be doing. But, I mean, really, given that Casper is down on the first floor trying to just sweep everything out he possibly can, those air jabs aren't going to be the most significant loss.
Yeah, not a very significant loss here. And the drone work, again, just coming out here. Obviously, they have to tread their way around mute devices as well. But Casper, actually, the execute is looking to start up here if you are the side of first attempt. And just trying to mag dump that utility into these sort of sites to try and deny that bubble cam there from the Maestro. And the M762 just training their sights onto the top of red stairs. The frag grenades are going to come out as well. Unfortunately, I don't think it netted positive. I don't think any damage has happened to anyone from the side of InControl. And instead, they're going to be looking to get control in a different way. They're going to be looking to push into the bar here. Obviously, you saw those Habana charges. They're going to try to open up that sort of behind the bar plant there, but Exile has something to say about that. Smoke grenades are going to come out here from him, and 15 seconds remain on the round, and they're still trying to gather some information so they can pull off this execute. It's a 4v4, but unfortunately, Casper is going to lose his life to bone here, and yeah, it's just a tall task for InControl is just losing bodies in tandem, and InControl Nation able to take another round here. Yusuke with the final kill on the PK, and that round was not very convincing there from the first attempt. They seemed to stall out inside of steady heavily.
Yeah, might be time to go and sign up for a university course. Time management, unfortunately, just not there for first attempt as they went for that execute. They had the position they needed to execute, but the fact that it took them so long to get there, it meant that by the time it happened, time was not on their side. Bone just able to hold Aviator door, shut them down. Yusuke as well, with the older just making it an impossibility here. 5-4, now the score, Santos. And it is starting to get close. We could see overtime kicking off already. Map number 1 of the day. We're going to be hitting the split site. We see a couple of changes coming in once again. And Bone definitely stepping up and fulfilling that role that he needs to, finding the big frags and helping his team out where he can.
I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with overtime. You know, it would be my first infinite overtime experience here at SCS. Obviously, you've done a couple of these. You are definitely one of the busiest casters that I've worked with. But yeah, if we look at the round history here, obviously 5-4 scoreline, it's looking like a very even game. And really it comes down to sort of these impact frags that come at the end of the round. Obviously, you know, having early map control does help if you remember that Legion spawn peak. But yeah, it's looking like a very even matchup here, and props to both first attempt and InControl for really showing us a really good game here today. Obviously, there's a lot at stake here. Both of these teams are looking to break their way out of the midfield.
Yeah, the higher up the pack you find yourself, the better you're going to have, a better time you're going to have going into later stages. Means you can, I mean, if you do drop a couple of series here or there, at least you're already up in that position. The worst you find yourself in is middle of the pack. But at the moment, I think it's more about the pride side of things here for first attempt. They got absolutely trounced last week. Yes, they did take one of the maps to overtime, but the way things went on that opening map of Clubhouse, it was a bit rough. So Casper, he's going to be the one leading the charge here. 10 frags under the belt, has been putting on a phenomenal performance so far, has really stepped up time and time again for the team. Unfortunately for him, so have Yusuke and Bone on the other side of things. So there's a lot of tools here for both teams to shut it down. First attempt, though, that last one must have rattled them a little bit. It's how they bounce back here.
Yeah, it's going to be all about just the mental reset that we like to talk about inside of Siege, but also Exile wants to stay on the board as much as possible here. He's going to be playing a very, you know, attached roam here onto the red stairs, and obviously you need to stay on the board as long as possible to keep on generating those Legion devices and those Legion mines, and trying to put them all over the place on the map and just try to, you know, make that execute just that little bit harder. And Bloom here just waiting on the call from one of his teammates, going to be trying to sort of establish some vertical control onto somebody playing inside a bathroom, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Kojin's going to lose a little bit of his life there, but unfortunately for them, not able to execute onto Kojin, and Kojin's going to be able to escape, only losing about 25 HP. Losing a little bit more here. I think he's taking a little bit of gunfire.
Yep, I think you died there for a second, Santos. But yeah, Kojin taking some big damage. is going to have to rely on the toxic canisters early on to try and survive. Frag grenade does come in, more chip damage being done, but he's not dead just yet. And Jewel through the window takes out Bone on the backside. Unfortunately, Kojin not able to help whatsoever, and already with a minute left to play, the final toxic canister does go down, and that's a lot of positional advantage burned early because Kojin got caught out of position.
Yeah, Kojin here, just sort of stuck in between a...
Oh, no, okay, we've completely lost him. So I am by myself for the next wee while. As 39 seconds left, Bates are going to jump straight in, and unfortunately for Kojin, he will go down. Exile, though, and Yusuke chipping in 2 of their own to bring it back to 3-3. Santos, are we back?
I am back in 25 seconds remaining onto the round. I do apologize for my internet, but Navozo and Yusuke able to get kills of their own. Casper is the only remaining member here of First Attempt. He is the top frag, though, and Navozo and Exile are going to be trying to hold him into position here inside the bathroom. The swing does come out here, and InControl Nation taking yet another round, 5-5 scoreline.
Yeah, and we're back to 5-5. The most rounds strung together in a row is 2. Now both teams have secured that. Round number 11. Who is going to be the first one to push it to map point? That is the question. At the moment, it's just InControl Nation looking like they're a little bit more solid in the situation. First attempt, despite some very, very stunning rounds, some very, very solid play, they've just made some of these big mistakes, which has cost them in the round. They're taking a little bit too long to go for that execute. They're not playing off of each other in refrag situations. And going down to Dining Room Kitchen, you could not pick a more influential bomb site. It's all about verticality. If they can establish that, they can look to execute the plant, but they need to deal with their own play. They need to win those key gunfights, and unfortunately for them, the biggest issue they will be facing is it definitely looks like Bone is warmed up coming into this.
Yeah, Bone definitely looking a little bit warmer when compared to his earlier rounds here, but if you're the side of First Attempt, you know how to play against people setting up in Kitchen. Obviously, your 2 defenses on Kitchen, if you are First Attempt, went very well. They were able to win both of those in relatively dominant fashion. So InControl Nation is going to have to pull something from deep inside the strat book. Otherwise, I don't think it's something that First Attempt hasn't seen before, if we're going to be completely honest here. And I think the verticality again is going to be the biggest sort of contention point. If you are the side of First Attempt, you have to be able to establish some angles onto your potential plant spots. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see how First Attempt is going to be taking control of this top floor. Are they going to go for a full roam clear and give themselves only a limited amount of time to execute, or are they going to be trying to sort of get this done dirty and quickly, if that makes sense?
It does. We'll see, though. Coming into this, we see 6 breaching charges on the board. We haven't really seen them utilized 9 times out of 10 when we see Casper on screen. It's at the end of a round where he's left in a clutch situation, at least here on the attack anyway. But Bloom, they're going for a first floor push. They've got the verticality threat there. Breaching charges, are great for that. They're going to be using them horizontally from library, so a different approach here. Usually you'd expect them to go upstairs, look to impact down. But no, not going to be the play. They're opening up the long angles, trying to set themselves up, give Casper that avenue into the bomb site. They see players. They have long lines of sight established here, as has been the setup. You can see Navozo was responsible for opening up a lot of these walls around Dining, giving them long lines of sight to actually contest. And if the attackers of First Attempt aren't quite aware of it, they could be caught out on an unaware angle.
Yeah, they could definitely be caught out here, and it's going to be up to First Attempt here once they have control over the bomb site to establish some flank watch as well. If you have the bodies to sort of spare, you can definitely afford to just throw some people on flank watch and just to lose a little bit of firepower onto the bomb site. But as I say that, though, they are trying to deal with the information game that has come out here from InControl, which is netting very positive for them. Obviously, some shots being taken at the bulletproof camera has been sort of the highlight here from the spectating that we've had. But Casper actually losing a little bit of life here, just trying to cross inside, or excuse me, in front of the kitchen doorway. And yeah, he seems to be just trying to play off of zero information. He's just peeking a bunch of different angles, and I don't think Casper has a clue as to what's going on. PK actually loses his life almost. He's going to be down here. I'm not sure who got the kill onto him, but Jewel actually able to get the solo kill off the entry onto Yusuke, who's playing above as the Mozzie, and some vertical control has been established here. He notices the person behind the Astro desk and instead going to be a little bit smarter in that gunfight, not going to take it. Casper is going to be able to get the kill onto Exile. That's the castle off the board, and first attempt looking to establish a lot of control over the bomb site.
Oh, Kojin just gets pinched on by two. PK got picked up. He was there with Casper, but unfortunately for them, Navozo and Bone get two more. Bloom brings it back, and Jewel shuts down the final player. That huge impact fragger on the side of InControl Nation. Bone, just not enough to do it at the end of the day. He gets caught out running through the kitchen door. And all of a sudden, Santos, the score is 6-5. First attempt need one round to get themselves a win here on map number 1. And InControl Nation, one more and they head towards infinite overtime. So we either have one round left to play or we have a lot of them. Infinite overtime could go the distance. So far, it hasn't been overwhelmingly long, but there have been a couple of games already that have gone, 15, 16, even upwards of 8, well, up towards 18 rounds. So there is potential for a little bit more siege to be played here on Villa. At the moment, though, we see a somewhat different approach. No Hibana this time for PK. They're going to go for a Thermite instead. And I have to believe that's purely because of the gun. The 5.56 is just a little bit better than the Type 89 and could give them a little bit more security in some of these gunfights. The long-range breach just a little bit more favorable, I think, over the exothermic charge.
Yeah, you mentioned the 5.56 being a stronger gun, and I do think it's very situational as to what gun you want for different situations. I feel like the Type 89 is better for your more aggressive sort of frag heavy support player, whereas the 5.56 excels in sort of those mid to long range gunfights where you are trying to put down some heavy firepower. Obviously, the fire rate is just a lot slower than the Type 89, but you are able to hit shots a little bit more consistently. But if you're the side of first attempt here, you want to close this match out right here, just because of the amount of points that are on the line here. Obviously, you want to be able to escape this with 3 points on the board secured, whereas if you go into overtime, you only really have the potential to earn 2 or potentially even 1 if they lose out the overtime period. So first attempt is definitely going to have to play some of their best siege here in order to secure the round win. But if you're in control here, you obviously want to force overtime. You don't want to lose some free points. And InControl, just let's see how much control they can establish over this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, first attempt coming to this, they've guaranteed themselves some points in the series at the very least. But that's not what you're here for. You're not here to guarantee yourself some points. You want to take the win. You want to stamp your mark on the tournament. And the first attempt can take this win away from InControl Nation, a team that is favored to finish towards the top of the pack. That would be a huge statement to make. You're coming into this, they're saying, look, we want to be, making people scared to verse us. We want people to hard VOD check and review everything because we are a force to be reckoned with. We're not one to be taken lightly. And there definitely has been some of that showing through here for first attempt. Already they're pushing into study, looking to get control. A different setup on the defense. They've opened that wall between Games and Aviator so they can contest from one side of this bomb site. As you can see, heavy presence, 1 in Vault, 1 in Classical, 2 in Games at the moment. And there we go. They've opened up the hole. Unfortunately, the Nitrous it does take out Casper. They need to be careful in these situations. I'm surprised they're still trying to pressure from in behind the bar, and Bloom sees Bone on the floor, prone, and all of a sudden, man count is back even.
The man count is even. I do have questions about how that Nitrocell was able to get the kill as well, but Bait able to take out Kojin playing inside of the pool table, by the side of the pool table. But Yusuke has a little bit to say about this execute coming out here from 1A, as well as Navozo was able to get the kill of his own. It's going to be up to Bloom and PK, but PK does have control of the diffuser, but they do have to contest with 3 bodies, and obviously they're going to be playing without a little bit of information here. They know that Yusuke is playing this angle relatively shallowly, and he's going to be able to get the kill onto Exile. It's going to, actually Bloom able to get a kill onto Exile, but Yusuke able to get the refrag. So Bloom here in alone on a 1 versus 2. He is able to get the lands of shots onto Yusuke, and it's going to be up to him versus Navozo. 30 seconds left on the round. He does have a little bit of flexibility as to how he wants to play this round, but he is going to have to try to establish this diffuser down very quickly, and Navozo is going to have something to say to that. He's going to try and peek out, but Bloom a little bit smarter than that. He's going to hop off the defuse plant, but time is ticking. 12 seconds remain on the round. He does have to get a little bit more aggressive here, but it seems like Navozo has a beat on his position, and we are going to overtime. InControl, able to even up our scoreline, and we bought ourselves some overtime rounds here, Panda.
Yeah, just Navozo. He had the positioning and the awareness to sit behind the bomb chassis, just literally give himself as much opportunity to work with as he could. Bloom, I think maybe he over-aggressed a little bit, didn't need to go for that force. He could have baited it out with the plant once again, forced Navozo to come to him. From there, they could. Unfortunately, Santos, we've had the call for a rehost going into overtime. You hate to see it. We do have to take a little bit of a break. We've got Salco joining us once again. And,
hello.
Man, this is probably one of the closest matches we've seen all tournament.
I would say so. I mean, the way that they're playing, especially on a map like Villa, where defense is typically, your better side, I think this overtime has the potential to push a little bit longer here than just those 3 rounds that we really have to play, or 2 rounds technically that you have to play. So we'll have to see. But so far, I've been a fan of what I'm seeing for sure. We've got Casper, who's being just absolutely nuts on first attempt. I believe he had 11, maybe 12 kills at that rehost, so he's doing a phenomenal job. I loved the defense that we saw from first attempt on Dining, and from the side of InControl too. They've just been capitalizing, I think, on those man advantages that they're getting early. But one thing overall, and I'll have you guys comment on it too, it's looking like this is just Trade Kill Simulator 2020. What do you guys think?
Yeah, you're not wrong. There's been a number of situations where, early advantage has been established, and then all of a sudden it just goes in completely back the other way because the players are there to back their teammates up. And there's only been a couple of situations where one team broken away and had a significant standout performance. But personally, in my mind, round number 1, where first attempt came in, they absolutely stomped out the round and took it away flawlessly. But on the whole, there hasn't really been any particular moment where I've said, yes, X team is going to win because they played that spectacularly and absolutely stomped their opponents. Both teams are stepping up. They're not giving an inch. If their opponent wants to win this out, they are going to have to work for it.
Yeah, right you are, Panda, and I think it's going to come down to the individual performances of the top frag. Obviously, we've talked about Bone and we've talked about Casper, and it's going to... I believe that in these overtime rounds, the teams are they've established what kind of control they're going to have, right? And I think the hero players are going to have to come out here to sort of set yourself apart here, because with the exception of a couple instances, no team has been able to take more than 2 rounds in a row. Excuse me. But yeah, I think it's going to come down to sort of like the hero aspect of Siege and just being able to be a really strong individual player. Obviously, Siege is a team game, but really, when you can start pulling off frags that are just mind-blowing, it's definitely the X factor in most of these rounds.
Definitely, guys. Yeah. Awesome takes. Oh, sorry, Blue. I always
feel
like right when
I was literally just gonna say, yeah, Santos, he got that in one. There just needs to be one player who steps up here to push it over the line, because if this carries on the way things have been going, like I said earlier, the most any number of rounds have been strung together in Aura is now 3 because of the fact that InControl Nation have come back and actually no, not even that. It's still 2. That's the most rounds strung together so far, and there is a very real possibility that we do see this. I hate to say it. I hesitate to say it because that is going to be a long time, but we could see 20 potentially plus rounds coming out here overall for this map.
If we do, I think I'd be very happy as a commentator, and I know you guys might, your voices are being used obviously a little bit more than mine, and Bean, who's in the observation room right now, is probably gonna, have a little bit of fun to say about that as well. But I'd be happy to see that, honestly, not gonna lie, because these teams, if you go to 20 rounds, you deserve, every point that you're gonna get from that, and every round in your round differential that you're gonna end up with there. So, but let's see. Looking ahead at overtime, we're going to have InControl on defense here first. So what do you think that is going to mean for these two teams? I think InControl looked a little bit dominant on defense, but at the same time, we saw 4-2 splits for both. So what do you guys think?
I mean, personally, I still think it could go either way, because yes, there was a 4-2 split favoring the defense, but just the way both teams have been playing, they have been slip up. Sorry, I think it 100% comes down to which bomb site is being attacked. I think if it's AVG, I 100% favor InControl, but we do have confirmation. We are ready to go post the rehost. Santos, how do you reckon this could play out? I reckon it's down to the bomb site. What do you think it could be?
I mean, you stole the words right out of my mouth. I mean, like this has just been such an even game here, and I don't want to curse us, the casters curse, but I'm feeling some Empire G2 SI vibes right now. You know, with the infinite overtime possibility, obviously, someone has to walk away with 2 points here. It's gonna come down to a little bit of a stamina game as well, because obviously, you know, we mentioned first attempt playing earlier today in Omega CL, so obviously they're going to be feeling themselves a little bit. It's a question of whether or not that that Omega CL stint was more of a warm up versus did it take some stamina away from them. So it's going to come down to just really who comes in with the most firepower here in this overtime period, and InControl Nation is going to look to establish the tempo here on this defense.
And if they can find the opener, it does give them that room to work with, potentially close it out. But with the way things have been going, it is really just anyone's game. We know first attempt can step up on the defense when they need to, but really the question is, can they do it in OT? Because if they have never needed to do it any more than right now. 15 seconds left in the prep phase. We're not going to see... Oh, actually, we still might potentially see Kojin rotate over to Walk-in Closet, because last time he was there, he got absolutely murked as bait jumped in the window. But he was forced out to use a lot of utility early. It wasn't the strongest of holds from a smoke player, despite the fact that it still went the way of InControl Nation. Losing out on that utility early is never.
Yeah, losing your smoke early is definitely just something that you can't really afford to have happen to you in a competitive siege setting, just because of how much bomb denial that you enable yourself to have through having that smoke. Obviously, the C4s do exist here from Bone and Yusuke, but that's more so for getting picks, I feel like, in the sort of grand scheme of what InControl Nation is looking to do here with their sort of Nitro Cell gameplay. And yeah, Kojin here is going to be the main crux of this defense, I feel, especially with how first attempt is sort of stacking up around him. We see Jewel here on the Nomad just looking to get a little bit of aggression going here onto him, and I think first attempt here is going to be looking to sort of clear the bottom side and then try to make their way up the Astral Stairs, or maybe up to red as well, just trying to establish control of the north side of the map here.
Yeah, just being able to control it, get themselves in a position. Again, we see Bloom downstairs, confirmation that someone is in Walk-in Closet. He's going to pull off. He's still very wary of the potential of a threat from behind, and yeah, they have, I imagine, confirmation that Kojin is there. Unfortunately for them, he swings out down PK. He's looking for more as he just rotates over towards the window. Might even go for run out, go bait on the barricade. Swings back towards the walk-in window. The pickup has not happened just yet. Finalized in the end, and Navozo on the backside over the shoulder does take down bait. Jewel dropped as well. Kojin finishes off PK before he finally goes down himself. Casper at least will get a return, brings it back to effectively a 3-2. But right now, this is a dire situation. 2 versus 3. Legion is still on the board. And now, that Bloom and Casper, if they ever needed to step up big, this was the round to do it. We know Casper has the potential for that, but the fact that they've only got one player able to drone, as there we go, he's going to find Bone. That's exactly what they need to be doing. No drone needed, in fact, as straight up wins the gunfight. They see the barricades, they see the positioning. I don't even think they're getting a drone here. They're just going to go straight off a frag power. I mean, it's an Ash and a Zofia, so why not? But this could be a very chaotic round.
Yeah, 35 seconds remaining on the clock, and they have evened up the man count here. Yusuke and Exile versus Bloom and Casper. Who's going to be able to walk away with our gunfights here? Yusuke. Actually, I think he's looking to go and try to rotate out here, but not before he goes and gets the kill onto the Zofia. And InControl Nation, during the ban wave, is going to start some waves of their own, and they're going to be able to get the final kills here and establish control over the overtime rounds.
Unfortunately, I mean, that's going to weigh on them. I mean, Navazo, he won that final round of regulation time playing around the bomb chassis. Yusuke does the exact same thing. as soon as you see something like that and you lose the round, that's gotta suck. You're thinking, why didn't we check there? Why didn't we think of that? It's probably one of the most obvious positions because I mean the damn thing's bulletproof. You don't have to worry about getting banged through it. So use it to your advantage. Now they don't have room to work with. First attempt, they need to even up that score. Look to be able to contest because if they lose this, they're in a lot of trouble.
We are going to see a 6-pick from the smoke onto the mirror, so opting to get a little bit more of the information game coming down here as opposed to trying to play for final late round executes here. I think, you know, bringing the Nitro Cell obviously is an impactful thing as well. And interesting to me is actually PK here on the Valkyrie. Bringing the deployable shield as opposed to the Nitro Cell, so you are losing a little bit of the verticality pressure that you could have, but you know, they definitely have something planned here. The deployable shield is coming out here to sort of cover up some rotates in and out of the game's room. And, you know, it's always interesting for me in Siege to see the different sort of strategies that get brought out by teams because, you know, for me being that sort of formulaic kind of guy, I feel like bringing a Nitro Cell is just a lot better in terms of just what you can bring on a Valkyrie. But obviously they have something planned here. It's going to be interesting to see what they have planned here for that deployable shield.
Well, the other thing is Mira has somehow made it the entire way through this map, and it is only being picked up in round number 14. This is the first time we're seeing it. I know teams don't necessarily strat too heavy with it, but the fact that it has been free on Aviator Games, on Split, so many rounds in a row, even on Dining downstairs, can be quite good. So interesting to see where bait is. And that's an interesting setup here. They're going to go for the contest straight into Aviator, straight into Study as well. They're going for a hard hold onto Games. And first attempt, they're trying to switch things up here on the defense.
Yeah, just trying to change the meta just a little bit here. Obviously, InControl was not expecting to look at the mirror here because they haven't established any control of underneath the mirror windows, which means that the mirror windows are going to be sort of uncontested here. Bait is just going to be able to play there sort of freely. And yeah, if you're in control, if you drone in and see the sort of mirror windows being played, obviously you just send somebody downstairs to try and alleviate that pressure by popping the rear windows because that floor underneath her is soft. But InControl here actually trying to take control here of 90, and if they lose 90, that spells death here for Bait because he is exposed to a bunch of holes there, and first attempt is going to be looking to just play into that sort of bookcase hallway ever so heavily here.
Damage is already being done here. Yusuke pushing into the angle on Study window is. Meanwhile, the rest of his team, they're looking to gain control over 90 hallway. Already, X-Cairo is off into Hunting Vault. Tucking himself into a corner is going to be Casper, just trying to stay alive here. Look at the test onto the beach. Drone going in. We'll just back off so they know he's there. No mutes, no mozzies whatsoever. And, oh, damage to the drone. Holly sees feet. Unfortunately, Kojin on the upside Pal will be the one to finish him off. And that is a bit of an over-aggress on the part of Casper, who really could have been the one to bring it back.
And Yusuke is actually going to be able to get a kill onto PK as well, and a bunch of first attempt members are just falling here, and it's going to be all up to Bait here in a 1v5. It's a really impossible situation here if you are Bait here, but you are going to try your damnedest, and the diffuser is going to get planted. Yusuke able to get the final kill onto him, and InControl here with a flawless round to establish final control over this overtime. An 8-6 scoreline is what we finish off here, and yeah, in overtime it just seemed like InControl Nation just had all of the momentum in the world, and they were pretty dominant in that period.
Yeah, they dug deep. They really did, and all of a sudden, you know, despite the best efforts of first attempt, it just wasn't enough. And Salco, welcome back. It felt like it wasn't too long ago that we had you here.
Oh yeah, I mean that rehost sort of brought me in a little bit sooner than I would have expected, but I am nonetheless excited with the outcome of that one. I think both teams fought really well, and I think that first attempt definitely deserves the point that they got on Villa. So we're just going to have to see exactly if they're going to bring it back on Theme Park and if they're going to be able to sort of correct almost the result that they wanted to have on this first one. But nothing bad to say about either of these teams. I think it really just came down to a little bit of positioning and intel, especially in those last couple rounds. You were pushing in with not much intel able to be provided. I guess a lot of drones were already dead. And then on the defensive round for first attempt, you know, they just got caught out with a couple pre-fires and a couple unfortunate angles. But let's go ahead and kick it on over, give you guys a little bit of a rest. We're going to bring in Putin on the desk and also a surprise super special guest analyst today. It's going to be our Lord and Savior Ferme, who's coming in. So thank you, Santos. Blue, we'll see you back here in a moment.
Right, guys.
My friends, welcome.
Hey, I'm just trying to check my connection, make sure you actually can hear me on stream, because my setup is a little bit wonky. Hey guys, you don't necessarily see me all the time. I think my second appearance since the beginning of season 3 on the stream, so I don't necessarily show up here that often. That is not supposed to be right now being played. Very cool. That's good job, me. That means that have to fade away. There we go. That's not supposed to be there. So I'm a little bit, we're multitasking a little bit today. So we're down a couple of people. So a lot of things have to be managed by me at the moment. But Putin, I'll let you introduce yourself today. That's your first broadcast with us.
Correct. Hello, my name is Putin. I am in charge of doing this cool little project that we've been working on for SCS as far as analytical wise and round review goes. So,
you know what?
yeah.
I just noticed something kind of funny. We've got Ferme, who's actually natively from Russia, and then we've got Putin here, who by name is very, very close. So it's kind of a little bit of a funky connection. But
and
yeah.
I'll tell you what, I am nowhere near Russian.
All right, so as you can see, we last week and during the playoffs, actually during qualifiers, we debuted a new system of round replays. So this is actually the game itself that we replay during rehosts. So and just like now, you see we have map 2 coming up. We're able to capture the entire game and kind of replay to you guys. And as you can see, it's round 8. So if you do want to remind us what happened during round 8, Putin, I know we can show our viewers the new experimental feature that we've been working on and presenting to you guys.
Yeah. So for round 8, I actually want to go over round 1 first, if that's okay.
Oh, sure. I see how it is now. I see how it is. I queue up one thing and now you want to change it? Okay, fine. Here we go. Here we go. I see how it is. It's very mean. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I know. It do be like that.
It do be like that.
But I want to go, because for the viewers who just tuned in, who tuned in later, they've already seen that. They haven't seen the earlier stuff yet.
Okay.
So yeah, I know, it's like, I got a 5 head right now, bro.
Well, I'll let you have it, my friend. Round 1 is being replayed right now as we speak.
All right, so let's go and get right into this. So round 1 was the flawless round. And so for the flawless round, the one thing that I really want to show is, let me go into this, is look into this. So for the flawless round, this is going to be the main floor. How they had it set up was they had the pulse getting the information below. They had the Mozzie with the pathing that he needed. And then, so Mute, he was able to get the coverage and work with the pulse to C4 the people pushing into Master. So the Malusi, she's playing an Aviator to really deny their push. Sledge, he's playing on the balcony, droning himself in. Hibana was basically cutting off rotates through Pantry. Jaeger, he was playing over by Skull, by top red. Zofia was playing 90. So let's go ahead and focus on this first area here. So Zofia, she's here to primarily pinch with the Ashe and the Nomad. Nomad, she's droning in the Ashe. However, what ended up happening was the Ashe, she lost the gunfight over onto the Jaeger playing on Skull. And so what resulted into that was the Zofia, she had to repel into 90 a lot quicker than she expected, which resulted in the, oh my lord, this thing is not wanting to move for me, which resulted in the Mozzie below C4ing her and downing her. And so that gave this Jaeger free roam, as the memes would say, free real estate.
Sure.
So this Jaeger, he had, what was it, a 3K that round? He was able to freely rotate to Master and just get the picks. How are you feeling about that, Ferme?
Honestly, starting off the game with the flawless round, it definitely shows how dominant you are on the map, right? Because we knowing that InControl and First Attempt went into this game, map bans were already established, and we have a system of auto bans. So we had Oregon and Cafe being auto banned for them already. So We know that InControl is pretty strong on Oregon and Clubhouse, and I believe Cafe is their second best from just what I've heard from people say. And them going into Villa, losing the first round in a very dominant fashion, that could definitely stall their momentum. As we can see, first attempt did indeed win the first half of 4-2 split.
Yeah. One thing that I really want to point out is how proficient this team is on the pulse. With this information that they got, they were able to freely do anything they wanted. One thing that I love to see as well, the pulse always played by another C4. So it literally just resulted in a flawless round like we were talking about. It was the momentum base. However, what we did eventually see was the other team start to get the momentum back, which is why I want to go into round 2 if you're ready for me.
Oh, now you want round 2?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, not round 2, round 4.
Oh my
round
goodness.
4.
I have the information. I have insider information. I have proof. You wanted round 1, 4, and 8, and now you
He corrected himself, mate. He corrected himself. You meant 4.
Hey, I corrected myself, sir.
Excuse me, sir. You make me
I
do
tell you
extra
what, I
work.
just like to make your life difficult, okay?
Okay,
We're about
I
to throw down in the analyst desk right here. I think
Okay.
this is turning in from a R6 stream to May versus
Yeah,
Putin.
I see how.
Maybe.
WWE SmackDown.
The Russian against the fake Russian.
Oh. All right, what a stream, guys! Right, like you don't see this anywhere else. I don't think you will. So as you can see, a round replay of round 2 is already queued up for you all. So what is something you want to talk about this round? Because trust me, my mind is completely boiling after producing this first map. What are your thoughts? Because you definitely were actually paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah, so the reason I chose this round was because this was all set up for a rush. But they didn't rush. They 6-picked to the Lion, and as we can see, this is going to be basement. The Vigil, he's playing over by bottom of stairs. This is a wine rack right here, facing towards the pantry stairs. And so Vigil, he's holding this angle onto the said rush. However, he played too passive. The Hibana and Lion were able to get control of pantry stairs, and Hibana was able to hold the angle. But this is where it went wrong. They started to stall, and this is going to be main floor now. And so Mute, he's going to be holding the pantry stairs, and Pulse is going to be giving all this information. And so what ended up happening was the Mute Jammers, they stalled their rush so much that they just stopped pushing. And so what they eventually ended up doing was sending the Ash, the Nomad, through lobby side, sending the Zofia through piano. And then, since this Jaeger is getting pinched so much, he just rotated to China. But what happened was, as they pushed up, they killed the Mute, they killed the Jaeger, so they got free control of site, but the Mozzie never rotated. The Mozzie was able to get a free pick onto Zofia. Pulse still had his C4. They were just able to pinch. How are you feeling about that round?
Dude, my mind is melting because now we're talking about round 2, and now we have to queue around round 4. Apparently, I'm just like a little bit lost. Okay, well, so from me directly, all right. Unfortunately, Pond wasn't able to make it for game 1, and as you might have noticed, I'm not the best desk analyst when I'm not prepared. So in fact, if you know what, address your questions to Sako, because I'm right now like multitasking between 3 people at the moment.
Okay. So Putin, this is round 4, correct? That you're talking about?
Correct, sir.
No?
So this is going to be the round where it was set up for a rush. They 6-pick onto Lion. They are on their kitchen defense. They send 2 people onto pantry stairs.
Yeah.
The Hibana and the Lion. The Hibana kills the Vigil on the flank, and then they start to execute pinch on sight.
Okay. Yeah, I think if I'm remembering correctly, first attempt was able to sort of come back and counter this by the end, and I think it was just down to that positioning, like you were talking about. They were really set up in superior places, and I think just InControl got a little bit over aggressive for what they should have been doing. I think bringing a Lion is a really valuable scenario, but I think if you're going to execute a rush, you have to bring in everybody from a similar location. So having 3 people on the opposite side of the map, like you're picturing right here, doesn't quite work for you because you pretty much had free reign into the site from that pantry stairs. So that's my take on the whole situation. But at the same time, I think it was a valiant effort there from InControl, and I think the Lion play is something that we should see a little bit more in competitive, just because it is a little valuable, even though it did get nerfed from its original broken state. So
That's a very valid point. One thing that I would have liked to see, so we see the 3 people over on the other side of the map away from their 2 teammates. An easier way to rush this site is to send somebody through laundry and send somebody on bike window. And literally, if that person on bike window will always get the pick on the person, like let's say this Jaeger. But one thing that I think happened was they were confused. They were like, oh, maybe we should rush, maybe we shouldn't, and it just resulted in the stall. They gave the defenders too much time to rotate.
Well, I'll tell you what, Putin, I appreciate your guys' input here. Looks like we're getting ready to hop into our second map of the night. So we'll see you guys back. We'll potentially see round 2 queued for Theme Park for this next one. But
so guys, again, and SCS will always try to innovate and improve. So again, this is our new experimental feature that we've been working on at the moment. So again, this is not exactly the most polished product at the moment, but the first is, this is our first try with having interactive maps. So I would appreciate any feedback you guys might have for us.
Definitely.
And we will keep improving this new feature, because I believe it could be quite a great asset moving on to the next streams. But I believe my casters are ready. Let's go back to our main screen.
Yeah, May, thank you so much. I think that it is definitely a valuable asset that we're going to have as Santos is exploring his the dark space yet again on cam. So if you're in the server, make sure that you're putting those recommendations in your SCS General, something like that, or in the chat there. But I'll tell you what, Santos Blue, we're about to see some theme park action. So as we get ready to transition over, what are you guys' opinions here?
Well, we don't have too long to talk about it, unfortunately, Sam. Do have to cut you off, but Santos Villa, it went to overtime. Unfortunately, InControl Nation were just the better team in Tuscany on the day. Now it's a reset, and unfortunately we've lost cams, but you're still here, yeah?
I can't. No? I can't avoid the dark zone. Like I don't know what's going on. I apologize for the technical difficulties that I am having. Speaking of technical difficulties, Thatcher is going to be the first ban off the board, and that's going to allow the electronics devices from the defense to stay alive just a little bit longer. And we are going to see our second attacker ban. It's going to be another ace ban, which is I think it's a pivotal ban here on Theme Park.
Yeah, look, I have a working theory as to why Thatcher, in fact, gets banned out more often than not. And it's not because of how impactful he is. It's because he's so old. These guys just don't like hanging around with him. His stories don't hit the same. He just can't relate to these new, younger operators coming into Rainbow Six. That's my theory at the very least. On the other side of things, we are going to see Maestro taken out. We saw just how key he was in the defense on Villa. Theme Park, he fills much the same role. Hard anchor, heavy hitting gun, information gathering potential, and all of a sudden, we might as well going to be the one taken out. So we're going to see one ban at least on the defense that is the same as last map. On the attack, exactly the same. And already, this is gearing up to play out very, very similar. You can't, try and counteract that heavy utility dump. It's going to be coming regardless of what you want. 2 sets of flash grenades, flashbangs is going to burn the ADSs out, so you got to bring something a little bit different to try and play into that. Already, they're looking to bring that. There's going down the Armory Throne. InControl Nation, they've got an Ela and an Alibi on the board. I have to anticipate one of them being 6-picked, but there's no guarantees in this situation. And, okay, yeah, no, it's Exile 6-picking onto the dock. Never mind, I'm just wrong.
Yeah, we can never be right as casters, right? It's the caster's curse. We say one thing and the next, and something completely different is going to happen. I do think it's interesting that you are switching over from a Valkyrie, who is a very intel-oriented operator, and switching onto the dock. It's kind of escaping me what kind of utility he brings to the board. Yeah, he brings the deployable camera. So you're not losing that much information gain, but again, you do sacrifice the sort of flexibility of positioning that you have with the Valkyrie cameras. So it's interesting that Exile decided to pick the dock, but he does come with a very strong gun in that MP5. Obviously, you have the zoom scopes as well, and Yeah, I think this is going to be overall just a little bit of aggression coming out here from InControl to start off their defensive half, just because you can take any gunfight you want, and as long as Exile stays on the board, he's going to be able to stim you right back up to full health, and first attempt is going to be looking to eliminate him as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I mean, aggression and survivability, what more could you possibly want in the situation? And already, we're seeing an aggressive setup. So Workshop hasn't been fully reinforced off. You can contest it from bottom Dragon Stairs through that doorway into Thrones. So InControl, they're looking to play aggressive. As well, if that wasn't already clear, I don't know how much more clear you could make it. Doc is one of those operators that can go for the aggressive plays and still heal himself back up if he is punished. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see Exile looking to be aggressive early. He can stim himself up later on once he gets back to the bomb site and still be incredibly relevant for the rest of the rest of the round. But look at that Bone. He's top Dragon Stairs at the moment, looking for a contest. He has Navazo below. He's going to drop the information. The drones are coming in. I'll play it safe, return back to the bomb site, and we can just play off of the information that was available.
I mean, there really is no need to take a gunfight that early into the round. Like 1 minute into the round, excuse me, you don't really need to sacrifice any sort of HP. And obviously, Bone is a very strong fragger in his own right, but trying to contest onto an Ash is not necessarily the gunfight that you want to take. But with that, it comes a little bit of sacrifice as first attempt is going to be able to take a lot of map control just off of being able to push Bone off of the top of Dragon Stairs. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Bait is going to start getting to work with that sledgehammer of the SAS operator and just trying to establish these vertical angles. Meanwhile, the rest of 1A is going to look to rotate around and try to establish the horizontal control as well, because most of the players from InControl Nation are currently playing here onto that first floor. And yeah, it's going to be up to Bait to sort of flush these positions out.
Yeah, 2 frag grenades and such a heavily impactful firearm, and secondary definitely going to be doing that as Casper and Jewel, they're contesting here in Joint Corridor, trying to deal with the deployable shield. I hesitate that they don't know that Exile is in lockers. That's a pretty audacious hold, but the spraying from behind, Exile will have to push out, gives away his position, loses some big health, is going to contest on the doorway, put out reloading, and Bloom, they're coming into this, they're looking to make a statement, and we talked about how influential Exile and that Doc could be going into the later stages of the round. Unfortunately, he's the first to fall.
He is going to be the first to fall here just off of the pressure that was coming from the multiple members of first attempt, and Bloom was eventually able to get the finisher onto him. But currently, the round has gone to a little bit of a standstill. Bait is still up here trying to establish these vertical angles here with that sledgehammer before the frag grenades do come out. But Yusuke able to get the kill onto Casper and Navozo as well onto PK, and bodies are just falling ever so quickly here. Yusuke with a double on the round, and Bloom is going to be able to get a refrag off of Bait, but unfortunately for them, InControl Nation just looking a little bit too strong on this defense, and they're going to take control of our first round.
We talk about the fatal funnels consistently, and that's exactly what happened. First attempt, they needed to push into the bomb site. They needed to go for that execute, and unfortunately, you know, that's the easiest thing to defend. You just watch the angles, you play off a direct line of sights, and then they've got to come to you. Unfortunately, just having to battle the clock works against first attempt here, and they lose out in the first round. And surely we're not seeing this Santos. Bomb site number 2, Boomy Room number 2 is going to be lab storage.
So that's an interesting pick to say the least. I'm not crazy about the lab storage site just because of how difficult it can be to hold. You do need to hold on to a lot of that vertical control, especially in Cafe. So yeah, I don't think this is the strongest sort of setup you can bring out here. I feel like this is one of the weaker bomb sites here on Theme Park, but I have seen crazier things from SCS throughout my stint casting with them, and I don't know what to make of this, because it doesn't seem like they're giving the vertical control that much attention, and they are actually establishing a bunch of horizontal angles. So Kojin onto that smoke, just being the site destructor simulator there. And as I say that, though, Navozo is going to be looking to establish some Valkyrie cam control inside of the Cafe and give them a little bit of flexibility as to how they can hold. And how much control they have over the second
Attackers
floor.
are heading out to defuse a bomb.
Yeah, that maybe indicates to me a little bit. Maybe they're not quite as familiar with this bomb site, with this map at all, because Navozo, that felt like a very much on-the-fly positioning for his black eye there. So maybe, just maybe, first attempt can win this out because of a lack of familiarity from InControl. I could be wrong. I could be this could be one of the maps that they scrim and practice all the time, but it just feels they're a little bit tentative. They're not quite as sure of themselves as we saw in Villa.
Oh,
And whoa, never mind. Navozo finds two as Yusuke finds another one, just holding perfectly in the bathroom. And again, fatal funnels here for first attempt. You cannot three-man push into that bathroom and not be punished.
They didn't even get a refrag either. Yusuke lost a lot of health, but Bloom and Bait are the only two remaining members here. As I say that, Bloom able to get the refrag onto Bone, but it seems a little bit too little too late. I'm not exactly sure what to make of that, but what I can tell you is that this bathroom has been absolutely a bloodbath, and they're going to be looking to just establish control of some other angle here, but if your first attempt, you're looking for answers here. You're looking for answers and not, you're asking a lot of questions for sure, because yeah, these rounds have been going absolutely horrendous for them, because yeah, you only got one kill and you lost three. Very, very weird sort of strategy is working here for InControl.
Yeah, I mean, a bathroom like that looks like a standard night for Charlie Sheen on a Tuesday, but it's not what you'd be expecting coming into this match. Whether it was a lack of information available to them or the fact that they could just straight up thought they could take the gunfight, pushing three men in through that window, only to be gunned down mercilessly the way they were, is not a good situation. Puts you at a huge disadvantage, obviously, but morally, morale-wise, it's going to be even worse. And Yusuke finds the player pushing upstairs, and unfortunately, Bait still focused on his task, gunned down from behind. I mean, Bloom must have been a bit confused, didn't know what he was seeing, and Bait was just, it was too late to turn around. Yusuke with a big 3 kill in the round. That's, I mean, you talk about rough, demoralizing even. That is exactly that round.
I think demoralizing is an understatement there, because we saw a little bit of the tilt coming around in that final double kill that the Jaeger was able to get. Because, you know, you had the sledge there just trying to establish the vertical holes and just trying to, you know, claw something in the round back. And I feel like the flank watch should have already been established there onto the top of arcade stairs. But, you know, Bloom was just looking to get a pick of his own and just sprinting all over the place. And I think that just spelled first attempt's downfall. And if we're being honest here from a momentum standpoint, InControl Nation might have already put the nail into the coffin with that round, because although it wasn't flawless, the theory behind the defense certainly was, because they just, first attempt was not able to establish any sort of control. And I think part of it was the fact that they just tried to rush 3 people into the bathroom, which was questionable to say the least.
Yeah, forcing like that, you know, whether it's a case to whether, I mean, there is potential that it was this huge big brain play and they're trying to lull their opponents into a false sense of security, but I mean, that's not at all what it feels like. They thought they had the security to push 3 men into bathroom. They got absolutely murdered for it, and the rest of the round just felt a little bit lackluster. Bait and Bloom just, they sort of threw in the towel and said, look, come at us if you want. We're not going to try too hard. There's only 2 of us left. And as a result, you know, 2-0 lead now for InControl, which is, if I remember correctly, is now their 5th round in a row, including last map. So they're definitely stringing the rounds together. They've got all the momentum coming into this. It's whether or not, you know, they can break the streak on the side of first attempt, because if they can, they do have a chance at coming back and evening things up and potentially taking out map number 2. But the way things are going, the mental aspect of the game seems to be lacking for them a little bit. I don't know if they have the fortitude.
Yeah, it's been looking questionable from a mental standpoint from first attempt, because as you said, they've lost 5 rounds in a row, and the rounds really haven't looked close, especially in that last round from InControl. It's just, that was a dominant showing there from InControl, and they are up 2-0 here on our final map of the day for these 2 teams. And I mean, you've gone onto a tertiary bomb site as well. I mean, granted, lab is probably a tertiary bomb site in its own right, but if your first attempt, you really need to just pull the mental reset button. I know I love to talk about that mental reset when I am on the cast, but I really think it's just one of the most valid things. Koji actually running the MX4 without a scope is it's an interesting sort of iron sight, but I do think it looks really clear now that I'm looking at this, and he's going to get into an engagement. Unfortunately, loses his life to Bloom, but the refrags are there. Bloom is going to be down.
Yeah, trying to play off of the Prisoners. Unfortunately, yeah, losing out on the alibi. Those Prisoners are largely ineffectual. They get the down at a Bloom, but can they get the... Yeah, they get it up. So it's still effectively a 5 versus 4. They've got their man advantage. We know how impactful players, even at that lower health, can be in a game like Rainbow Six Siege. All you need to do is click heads, and if you can do that, you can still win the round. Casper alive, looking to do some work, looking to impact. It has yet to find a frag so far here in round number 3. Was one of those players that just got absolutely murked at the start of the last round. Bloom on the rappel, trying to create a distraction here, give his teammates the opening they need to find some bigger frags. And if they can do that, they can translate it into a win. X-Kairo's off onto the wall as they start to establish those lines of sight. If they can do that, if they can find the gunfights, 100% it's their round, but again, it's that mental fortitude. Can they bring it back? Jewel sees the player, goes for the shots. Just a jiggle around the doorway. Being a bit of a nuisance, we'll get away with it for now.
He is going to get away with his life. That's going to be, I think that was the mute of Navozo, but he actually does get a kill onto Jewel. Exile there to get another kill as well, but Casper able to get a refrag, but unfortunately the kills are coming way too quickly, and Bait here alone in a 1v3 situation here in InControl, yet again in control of round 3, and they put us up at a 3-0 scoreline, and this map, it's frankly not looking close here, and first attempt is going to have to pull something deep from the strategy back to try and pull themselves back into this matchup.
Yeah, unfortunately, this very much feels like the beginning of the end. You know, they've had a demoralizing loss. They take it to overtime at least, so they will get some points, but they still lose the 2 overtime rounds that we had. And then from there, they come on to Theme Park. The first round looked good, but unfortunately, they just couldn't pull it out. Second round, absolute whitewash. Third round, largely the same. This could be telling. This round here is, do we see first attempt crumble under the pressure, crumble under the mentality side of things, or can they bring it back? Can they bring it back, start to get themselves around on the board? And I think that maybe InControl Nation are aware of this, because we are going to see the Clash pick coming out. I could not think of a more tilt-inducing operator than the Brit herself.
No running in the halls is her tribute catchphrase, or her main catchphrase, and I think that's exactly what she's going to be trying to pull off here. Just try and sort of slow down this first attempt attack here, and I mean, it's already looked pretty dire for first attempt, and you mentioned the tilt factor. There's really nothing worse in Siege, in my opinion at least, to try and sprint around a hallway just to be met with that electric shield and just being slowing you down. Not to mention the amount of aggression that does open up for InControl if they decide to put a body behind Exile. And yeah, this could be the beginning of the end, but it's also the biggest thing that will establish some teamwork within the two teams, right? Like, you need 2 operators to bring down a Clash, because she's just too strong on her own. So it's going to be interesting to see, will first attempt band together in this round here to try and take away some of this control that INC has so far in this matchup.
Yeah, this is do or die. You from this point, I think if they lose a 4th round and a half, I very, very much believe that we could see a full 6-0 on the side of the defense. They need to find some avenue back. And PK, Bait, and Jewel, and Jewel all sitting on donuts at the moment. They have yet to find a frag. So on top of everything that has been going wrong, they're still not finding anything. Sorry, yeah, trying to clear my throat there, but they need to find frags, and the frags is what is going to be turning that momentum, turning the mentality. If they can start to string things together, they can actually start to contest in these rounds. Unfortunately, like you said, yeah, it's a Clash. You need at least 2 people to try and deal with it. I mean, in theory, Bait could land a clean nade, get the kill that way, but that's, you know, that's a risky situation. You're investing a lot for what is potentially not a guaranteed outcome. With so much time already burnt, first attempt, they need to find the verticality, they need to find early picks, and they just haven't found anything yet.
Yeah, InControl Nation just kind of doing a little bit of a turtle strat, I might say here, just trying to stay out of the lines of sight as much as possible and really force first attempt into these fatal funnels, excuse me, because right now, InControl Nation does have a lot to lose here in this matchup. Obviously, they don't want their momentum to just be sort of shut down, and they have vertical control now, which is good, but I think they forfeited it for the most part. They've sent all of their operators downstairs, which is kind of curious here. I think they just forced all of InControl Nation into some tough positions, and now they're opting to go for a little bit more of a horizontal take here, and I think that's really interesting. But PK has lost one of his thermite devices in so far, but he's going to be able to get the second one down. Actually, no, I misread it. He still has one in his pocket, so that's good for him, I guess. And Bone and Kojin here with a crossfire, to say the least, onto Casper. It's going to be looking like a difficult entrance here from first attempt.
Yeah, you gotta really just in your mind. What is the play here? How do we approach this bomb site? How do we get ourselves in? Go for the plant, go for the kills. Unfortunately, Navozo not that much harder, taking out Jewel, who is now currently sitting 0-4. Bloom, he's just been this defining factor for the team. Casper swings in, finds the first. As his teammate on the backside, looking to set themselves up for this push. Bait will go down, it's Yusuke. They see the player behind thrown. Unfortunately, he just finds himself another double and gets finished off by PK. Bloom takes down this thorn in the side, and all of a sudden, this is a much better round, but unfortunately, the clock, the sixth defender, is there for InControl. Despite Bloom's best efforts, you cannot kill it.
I mean, it all came down to them not being able to take down that Clash. The Clash was able to get the down onto the Thermite, and when it's all up against the clock, yeah, you said it, the sixth defender that exists on the map. So there was a lot closer from first attempt. Let's give them a little bit of credit here, because their push into the site initially was very strong there. They were able to get a couple kills onto, I think it was Bone and Kojin as well, but unfortunately, they weren't able to net positive, and that it's all due to just not being able to take down the Clash. I know that it's a very tall task to take down a Clash, but you got to be able to establish some crossfires onto her. Granted, I know the round was coming to a close there, but nonetheless, InControl Nation very in control of this matchup here. 4-0 scoreline, and first attempt. What do you have for us here? You're able to take PK off the donut, which is good, but Bait and Jewel are still sitting on it, and that's just, you can't really afford that in a matchup as close as this one.
I don't know. I don't know what it is about North American teams and not liking the Monty. Yes, I know the guard break changes have sort of crippled him, but you don't have to let yourself get close enough to be threatened by that. If you are playing Monty the way he is meant to be played, which is someone on the back side of him playing over either the left or the right shoulder, you can start to string together some frags. He's all about denying lines of sight. If they'd had a Monty there, the push into connector, they could have cut off the line of sight of Yusuke, played into armory, and got the defuse down that way. They didn't. They've opted for this very much frontline strategy of the Sophia Ash. They're looking to contest every single gunfight. There's no dishonor in playing a Monty. In fact, in a tactical shooter like Rainbow Six Siege, he's a very, very freaking operator. I think they need to be using the tools that are available to them, not sticking to comfort picks. Because, I mean, we saw how impactful Lion can potentially be. Last week, there was a couple of picks there, I believe, if I remember correctly, where, shutting down the rotation potential, shutting down the rush potential of a defender, that it can swing that momentum in your favor.
Yeah, I think first attempt just needs to break away from their comfort zone a little bit, because you mentioned, right, it is comfort picks at this point. Bloom and Casper playing their preferred operators here, as well as PK, Bait, and Jewel. Obviously, those their operators in their own right have some very strong fragging potential. But yeah, I would have liked to see a Monty or just some sort of switch up here to try and sort of break the status quo here that InControl has established here over this matchup. And we take a look at Yusuke and Navozo, obviously the two standout players so far. 8-1, 7-2. They're fragging out, to say the least, here off of the Valkyrie and the Jaeger in this current round here. But yeah, I'm wondering here, how can first attempt sort of break the status quo? And really just establish control of this of rounds, because obviously you want to take it round by round, one by one, as you move further and further into this map, because right now it's looking dire.
I mean, yeah, there's options available. So, I mean, even been a pick that could have shifted up that momentum. Having the Gemini replicator, you throw it in, it feeds information. You've got the frag grenades and the G36, so it plays similarly to an Ash. They could have made something happen here, but at the moment, you got PK on the thermite, largely ineffectual as he's trying to contest straight into lab itself. Chill, gonna take some big damage on Novozo, guns him down. PK, how you want to open? Fortunately, they have no idea that Exile is playing in this corner behind the stack. He might be able to swing, find a big kill as the player drops down. It's going to be bait. If he walks in, he could be in trouble. He swings onto PK. Still, again, over-aggressing onto these angles, respecting the potential for damage threat.
Oh, no.
Bait goes down to the M590. Martyrdom grenade comes out for Exile. So it is back to a 2v2 after Yusuke contributes in the round. And, well, this is rough. It's a 2v2, but Bait is on the ground outside down, but not out. If they can't get him up, and they won't be able to, Yusuke just, sorry. Again, Yusuke has been, I mean, we talked about how Bone was that standout player in map number 1. You know, from last week, he definitely went absolutely huge, found some big frags in the first game, and continued that momentum for the second. But Yusuke this week, I mean, he was, what, 13, 14 frags on Villa? Now coming into map number 2, he's found 2 3Ks in a row.
Yeah, you mentioned how strong Bone was playing there, but also Yusuke and I think it's Novozo. But yeah, you mentioned how strong Bone can be as well. And first attempt really just, I don't know, they stalled out in that round after they were able to get the kill onto the person playing by the air hockey table. And I'm not sure that maybe they're just running into a brick wall on all of these attacks, because they seem to stall out after they are able to establish this initial control. And that could be up to Theme Park being more of a defender-sided map here. But if your first attempt, again, round by round, but it's frankly looking very negative. I hate to be so negative on a cast, but it's just it's a very bad situation that you are in if you are first attempt. And yeah, take one round here, try to claw your way back into this matchup, but InControl is looking mighty strong right now.
Mighty strong indeed. You've got to wonder, you know, maybe it's just how demoralizing that loss was on Villa. They were poised to take it out, and then InControl Nation, they just dug that little bit deeper. They got themselves to overtime. They got them to win. On top of that, the first 5 rounds so far, they've just, the way that they've played out, they've played out in a way that is going to compromise your mentality. It's going to undercut you. I can't necessarily say it's 100% because at first attempt they're a little bit broken mentally here, or they're just throwing in the towel, but it's very much looking like InControl Nation. They're playing every aspect of the game very well. Tactically, they're playing it well. Gunfights, they're playing it well. Mentally, they're playing it very, very well. And that shows on the scoreboard. 5-0. They're staring in the barrel of a flawless half. Cogent is on the dock. They're just looking to hammer home these little advantages they have. And the way they've been doing it, it's securing the round. So this entirely could be a 7-0 sweep.
I don't want to chalk that up just yet, but InControl looking very strong here. But Exile does have to contest with somebody playing the upside down repel, but Yusuke in position here to get a refrag should that be necessary. But he's going to think a little bit better of it and just try to play away from that upside down repel. And instead, InControl is looking to just play a little bit more passively here, as opposed to first attempt, who are going to be trying to take the aggression to them just a little bit. We see Bloom just trying to pre-fire a bunch of different angles and trying to catch someone off guard if you're InControl. But InControl is doing a really good job of just sitting in positions here and not really exposing to themselves the way that Bloom has. But Yusuke actually able to get the kill onto Casper. The refrags are coming out in tandem, but it's going to be first attempt here with a man disadvantage here, as well as Bloom a little bit worse for wear, sitting at about 50 HP. And it's really just going to come down to InControl just watching these fatal funnels, because you have lost a lot of self-destruction here if you are first attempt.
Yeah, and then only using Yusuke on the side of the defense. We've seen more M590 kills at this map alone than at all throughout the entire season so far of SCS. 2 versus 4. as XL does unfortunately take down yet another member here of first attempt. Bloom and PK, men against the world, and PK hasn't been the most influential of fraggers so far in Theme Park. Despite his best efforts, things have not been going in his favor. Bloom really has been stepping up, finding frag after frag. All for naught, unfortunately. They know where Kojin is. They could look to go for a two-man swing, but spray through the wall. There we go. Bloom takes down Bone. This could be the start of a comeback if they can manage it. But again, that 6 defender time is not in their favor. 25 seconds left. They've got to push. They've got to execute spray. Kojin will drop Bloom, and all of a sudden, he's being tagged up. More chip damage, more chip damage. He does get shot out by Navozo and Santos. A flawless half, 6-0 going the way of InControl, and you hate to see it. As much as we love our 6-0s, it feels so demoralizing. First attempt in this position, given how well they played map number 1.
I mean, yeah, I have to ask, what really happened in between maps to first attempt, because obviously, I don't think the preparation is there for Theme Park. It's a 6-0 scoreline, so the writing is all in the scoreboard. Like, yeah, obviously the numbers don't really tell the full story, but if you look at how dominating InControl Nation have been throughout these rounds, because frankly, first attempt have just been trying to like peek into angles and just try to set their momentum up in that way. But that's not really how you can go about Theme Park. There isn't real you're gonna get punished for aggression on Theme Park 9 times out of 10, and yeah, like Ferme just told us in production chat, I want to see it come back too, just as much as you do. But it's looking dire. It's looking, frankly, it's a mountain that's unclimbable for first attempt, if we're being honest here.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is an unfortunate series, as much as last week was for them as well. But I mean, this is it. This is, these guys are now, they've established themselves as a bit of an underdog. They've had a rough run the first 2 weeks. And now, look, they are setting themselves up for that redemption arc. If they can do the work, if they can prep, if they can practice and discipline themselves going into later weeks. It's like the storyline of an anime. These are our protagonists. They're beaten, they're bruised, they're coming into week number 2, and they've just not had the greatest times. You can see the fact that they're that demoralized, the disappointment on their faces, and they go home, they do the work. If they do that, they can come out stronger than ever, give us a real showing into week number 3, especially given the resources they have behind them. This is a team that could be very, very powerful, but they just haven't got the work done. They're not there yet. If they can go home and do that, I'm really excited to see what these guys can do later in the.
Yeah, InControl Nation has been looking. Yeah, they've looked like the stronger team in here in this matchup, especially on map 2. And the proof again in the pudding. We haven't seen a 6-0 scoreline all season, and the map control is coming out relatively rapidly here from InControl Nation. Bone and Navozo establishing the top floor control. Bloom and Casper here on a very loose roam, just trying to deny that sort of attack onto the cafe side as well. And yeah, it's the teamwork from InControl Nation. We see the drones being played out as well, and yeah, I'd like to see. I think first attempt here looking a little bit stronger, though. Just no one has died yet, and they do look like they're in position here to deny any sort of wall breach. So let's see what first attempt has in store for us, because they do seem like this attack is it does seem like this attack, excuse me, is stalling out just a little bit here.
Yeah, they are going for somewhat of a different approach here. Sledge onto the reinforced wall so that the Maverick trick, when it does execute, means the wall, will be wide open. Cogent going to be starting things up. There's Exile there in support. Frag grenade being cooked, ready to throw over the top. Cooked well, does throw it deep, but it's only a little bit of damage onto PK, who runs himself out of danger range. And Cogent being threatened here. Shot through the footholes. And they finally get it open. Means that Exile can contest, but Casper is the one to open things up. Yusuke goes down. This breach is much a detriment to InControl as an avenue onto the bombs. And first attempt, this is a great showing in round number 7. They lose one on the backside. It's Navozo to take down Jewel. But this sign of life could have come a little bit earlier. Fortunately, now they've got to battle back from a 6-0 deficit.
tough deficit to find yourself from the way back on, but Novozo able to even up the deficit in this round, and suddenly it looks like InControl actually has a little bit of an attack going on here. But as I say that, Casper there able to get the refrag onto Novozo, and Kojin and Bone here alone in a 2v3 situation. Kojin a little bit worse for wear. He does have the strong gun of the M4, but just way too many angles to peek. And Bone, we mentioned how much of a standout player he can be, but unfortunately that's a too tall of a task even for him. And first attempt, able to prevent the full 7-0 sweep, and they're going to take their first round here on Theme Park.
Off the back of Casper in a huge 4K, they get themselves on the board finally. I mean, Santos, what is the real possibility that we see the halves being traded 6-0? First attempt, they cannot afford to make a single mistake, and unfortunately, the way things have been going, they've made a few. Going now to Bunk Daycare. In fact, surprisingly, the first time that we're seeing Bunk Daycare being played here on Theme Park, which is something that I never expected I would say. They've changed things up. They've gone for the Goyo, the much more standard approach. I'm interested to see where they look to position. Will it be aggressive? But they do have the mirror available to them. I was just about to touch on that. It wasn't banned out in this map either. They need to use every single advantage they can, squeeze out of this map. And the fact that mirror isn't banned could be the one that helps them string together some very, very big rounds. Oh, one sec. I think I've got the electrician coming in. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
All right, see you, Blue. I'm gonna take the reins here while he goes and talks to that electrician. But yeah, we do see bait here on the mirror, and that opens up a lot of aggression here for the side of first attempt. Obviously, you are able to get a little bit more intel, and I think that's gonna overall net positive for them in this sort of matchup here. And again, we are seeing a little bit of a horizontal hold here. They are going to be trying to deny any sort of an entry here onto the Dragon side, and I don't think there's a lot of attention being paid towards Cafe, which could prove to bite them here if InControl decides to go for a Cafe-sided attack. But as I see by the spawns here, I don't think that's going to happen. Actually, I think InControl is going to be trying to sort of meet the nail on its head a little bit and try to attack onto this Dragon side and just try to establish some sort of control over these horizontal gunfights.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back. Just had to let the electrician in. He's got some stuff to do around the house. But yeah, they've got to get those vertical angles, whether that's from below, which it seems like it could be. They've got an Ash, they've got a Zofia, but a lot of priority over towards Cash Stash. If they can get themselves in, start at that horizontal clear, they are going to meet themselves with that mirror. And the fact that they have no long-range breach, they've got no way to guarantee an opening onto that mirror window. They've got no Hibana, Ace has been banned out, so they're just going to have to force their way through, try and find the vertical angles to deny the potential of a mirror window. And unfortunately, I think that is going to be a hard task, and this very much could be first attempt getting themselves a second round on the board if they can play this properly.
Yeah, and we see the damage, coming out here onto Bloom, losing just a little bit of HP, but every point of HP matters in a game like Siege. Even though you can click heads, forehead, it's still, easier to hit a body. But Yusuke actually establishing control of the bottom floor and just making sure that there is no one down there to sort of get the flank going and sort of ruin their days. But Jewel actually playing here on yellow stairs, and I'm sure Yusuke is making a lot of noise here, and I think they're going to be able to pencil down that position. But Exile able to get the kill onto Casper. That's going to be your Malusi to fall, and the defensive side is the stronger side here on Theme Park, but you don't want to lose anyone early, and I'm pretty sure Casper had the Nitro Cell going and wasn't able to use it to his advantage, so that's a very bad frag to lose early. But Jewel able to get the refrag onto Kojin, but the frags are coming out here pretty quickly. Bone gets a double onto Bait and Jewel, and it's all up to Bloom and PK here to dig themselves out of the deep hole. That is a 6-1 scoreline.
Yeah, unfortunately, Casper was that standout player in the last round, 4K, to help themselves get that win on the board. And he goes down, caught well and truly with his pants down while trying to go for the Nitro Cell. Now Bloom has been finding some frags. In fact, is the score leader for first attempt at the moment. Him and PK have to go absolutely huge here. Can they do it is the question. His Bone has stepped up, has found 2 frags already in the round. Is even. Can they stall it out? Can they slow it down? There's concussions and impacts going in. Bloom is stuck in the corner well and truly can this stage. Forcing through the breach, the swing is there, and it's good from Navozo. It's all on PK. He's going to sprays to the soft wall on the backside, has to go to the secondary. This is not the situation you want to be in. And unfortunately, the round started with someone getting caught in a nitro cell. It's only fitting that it ends that way, Santoast. And going into next week, first attempt, they've got a lot of work to do. They've got a lot of work to do to prove themselves in this tournament. And unfortunately, yes, they have had two very, very hard matchups. In saying that, there is room for them to grow, room for them to come back in this tournament. It's how diligently they do it, how much they stick to it, as to whether or not they can start to contest the top players. Dalco, welcome back. That was a rough one.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was definitely a little bit rough there for first attempt, but I still think they put on a good show, especially after map number 1. You know, they got their point for the week, which is always good to have. I think it still sets them up a little bit against some of their competitors this season, but we will see how the remainder of the weeks go on. But let's talk about InControl. Absolutely dominant showing from them. They ended up going 7-1. That was just absolutely nuts. We saw Navozo, who's their new pickup, drop 12 kills in this map, even after only just, 8 rounds total? So that's just insane. What are you guys' impressions, though?
Yeah, I mean, InControl, they started off last week with a hiss and a roar, and then I think they overspent themselves a little bit going into map number 2. They lost a bit of momentum, and that's where 303 was able to come back. This week, they took a little bit longer to get warmed up. I suppose I think they held back a little bit more in this one, and as a result, they found themselves struggling in map number 1, and they were get online and warm up going into map 2. So I think they're finding a bit of tempo issues, all said and done. But once they can wrinkle that out, they're one of those top place contenders. They're going to be very, very scary. These two new pickups have done incredibly well. Like you said, Navozo absolutely nuts in map number 2. They were definitely involved in map number 1. It wasn't that huge showing off the bat, their debut performance just absolutely blowing out of the water. But it was consistent. It was exactly what they needed to be doing, and they slotted into the roster very, very well.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you there, Blue. I think, InControl, they needed that first map to sort of warm up the tempo a little bit. You know, like you were saying, they got really into it on map number 2. But at the same time, looking at first attempt, I've got to play a little bit of devil's advocate. They did just come off of a 2-0 win earlier tonight, I believe, with Omega League there. So potentially they were just fighting a little bit of fatigue because, 4 maps in one day is a lot. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one, and we'll see what happens with them next week. But Toast, what are your overall impressions from the game today, my friend?
There are definitely some positives that you can take away from first attempt here, because that Villa map was very strong. They shown that they can take rounds off of these very scary teams, because I want to say that InControl Nation was that was a very strong showing for them, and they showed that they can not only take rounds off of different teams, but they can also dominate rounds, as we saw in those flawless rounds on Villa. I want to say that maybe Theme Park could have been not necessarily a fluke, but I just don't think that was a very well-practiced map. You maybe ask the question, why did it make it past the ban phase? But I still think that the first attempt has a lot of potential here. Excuse me, going deeper and deeper into the SCS season. It's just going to come down to, like Panda said, doing your due diligence and making sure that you get your work done. Comp is definitely comp is definitely a very sort of preparation oriented way to play Siege, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing both of these two teams as we go deeper and deeper into the season.
100% agreed with you there, Toast. So Blue and Toast, I'm going to leave it to you guys for a moment to just sort of talk about your impressions on the game while we wait and get our interviewee up here. I believe it is going to be Dash, the coach of InControl, so we will have to see here in a moment.
Well, Toast, we've come to the end of the day. 2-0 going the way of InControl Nation. Yes, the first map got taken to overtime, so they won't get the full 6 points. I mean, what a series. What a series. InControl Nation, they themselves are not flawless. They've got stuff to work on. Right. So we see two vastly different approaches to both maps. One team far more aggressive. One team maybe, I'm not counting out the possibility of a little bit of fatigue going the way of first attempt. The 3-man push into bathroom on that lab defense maybe indicates that a little bit. But they have the showings of a very, very good team. Casper just absolutely fragging like a champion map number 1. Bloom stepped up in map number 2. It's about finding that momentum, making sure that all stepping up at the same time, rather than just this staggered one person steps up and then one person steps up and then one person steps up. So we'll see maybe if they can look to pull that together. I do believe we have the interviewee in and ready to go. It's going to be Dash from the coach of InControl Nation coming here to join us. And Santos, I mean, there's got to be questions galore.
Definitely a bunch of questions to be asked. And Dash, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I mean, everything's going by swimmingly for me. A very good showing from your team, especially on that theme park map, but also just on Villa overall. So, from a coach's perspective, obviously we saw how the first map went. It was a 8-6 overtime win, if I'm remembering things correctly. But there was a rehost there. Were you in comms? You know, just telling what were you telling your team as a coach, or maybe how does your coaching feedback? What do you have to take away from this map?
So during the rehost, it was really a chance for us to just regroup ourselves. You know, we had the momentum because we had just brought it back. And, you know, we really just said we got to, you know, stick to our basics, you know, do what we know how to do. You know, we know how they play. We know what to do. You just have to do it. You know, you just have to do it without making those mistakes. So.
Yeah,
good.
awesome.
Go ahead, Sokka.
Oh my God. Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry, Toast. I couldn't tell. But in any case, yeah, you guys showed up really well, especially after that rehost. So you being there obviously was good for them. I'm sure whoever your IGL is, I believe it is Kojin, correct?
Yes. It is
Okay, so
Kojin.
yeah, that's the one thing as an IGL, you have to have that mentality whenever you go into a rehost that you just take the time, recenter everybody, and worked out perfectly. So I did have a question for you though, from my perspective. What was it like bringing 2 new players into the roster, you know, so quickly before these games this week?
So yeah, we just brought in Exile and Navozo, and we've known these players for a while. You know, we have a bunch of players on Inc who have been friends with them, and so we felt that before we picked them up, that how they played and how we played would go really well together. And so the timing it's been crunched because of, you know, our league games and all that, but we've just been, you know, practicing as much as we can, and so far, you know, it's been going really well, and yeah, everybody seems to just get that, I don't want to say instant synergy, but everybody is really working together well. You know, the communication and everything, which is something that just develops over time. And from what I've seen, just watching them, it's been going really well.
Love to see that. And Blue, I'm going to kick it over to you, my friend, if you got a question.
Yeah, I mean, so coming in, you know, week number 1, you guys started off incredibly well, and then it sort of petered off a little bit in 303. We're able to bring it back. This week, you guys, it was a little bit slower. You guys took your time, you paced it. Is that something you guys are working on, you know, main both throughout a series?
Yeah, it's something that we have been trying to dial back is the super aggro, you know, just play for frags kind of play style that some people have started to see us for. And we're really trying to just, like you said, slow things down. And, you know, like during the round, just we have an objective, we have a goal. We're trying to, you know, push this side of the map. We're trying to do this, right? So we have to do that together. And if one guy's just going off, that's not going to happen. So it's really just about not just slowing down, but working together, right? If you have a 1v1 to take, you know, trying to maybe make that a 2v1 by waiting a couple seconds. So that's something we've really been trying to work on.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely showed out. You guys, you got there, you got that overtime, you got the win, you then took it to map number 2, and you guys, they were clearly warmed up going into theme park. Is that something that you guys are practicing? Because you guys are far more competent on that map than what we expected going into it.
Yeah, we have been trying to practice a lot of the maps, especially because of the recent roster change. So we've been trying to, get a lot of maps in, and we were pretty comfortable going from the 5 maps available. We were pretty comfortable going into any one of them, and we got a very good understanding, or an even better understanding of 1A's playstyle on Villa, and we kind of just sat down. We said, all right, we know this is what they're gonna do, and we were just able to counter that pretty well on theme.
Well, good to hear, Salco. I mean,
Oh yeah.
bring us out, buddy. I can see it. Maybe you've got another question there. I think I know.
I've got a fun question here for you. So I mean, we've been talking serious for a second, but it just caught up to chat exactly who we were interviewing, and you've got quite a few hype men in chat. A couple of them even have used a couple choice words, quote unquote cute. So what do you have to say to your fans out there, my friend, after a win like today? What do you want to say to them?
We have very supportive fans, from people we know to people who also represent Inc. to just fans in general. So thanks for all the support. Hope that you're much happier to see Theme Park than Villa. And yeah, another huge shout out to InControl for their amazing support as an organization as well, and to TJ.
Awesome. And then my final question for you, my friend, anything you want to say to your opponents, whether they be tonight's opponents, future opponents, anything like that, what you got for them?
Well, I will say to 1A, I have known them for a while. We've played them, before in, other, like scrims and stuff. I know they're a very competent team, and they played really well today. So huge shout out to them. To our future opponents, right? This is just the beginning. We're just going to keep practicing, especially with this roster, and we're just going to keep getting stronger.
All right. Well, you love to see that. I mean, that confidence is especially something that you need in a big league like SCS with some of the biggest T3 talent. So it's awesome to see you guys coming out of the gate ready to go like that, and talking the talk. So we'll see in the future weeks what's going to come of that. But thank you so much for your time, Dash. It's a phenomenal day to have you up here, and congrats on 5 points.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Toast, Blue, any final words from you guys before we kick it over to the analysts for that first one?
I mean, it's all been said. I think InControl did all on the field today, so to speak. Toast, what a series! InControl Nation, they are definitely one of the players to watch in this tournament.
Yeah, I think InControl Nation, you mentioned it, just clean up some of the mistakes. I'm sure Dash is already at work trying to, clean up some of the things that happened in this matchup. And, first attempt, obviously you have some positive points to work off of during that game. And it's gonna be great to see you guys coming throughout these weeks. And I'm looking forward to the next time that I can see these teams play, because it's definitely some positives and maybe some stuff to clean up as well. I want to see the development.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, thank you so much for everything. You guys have been phenomenal tonight, and we'll see next week. We have Renaissance versus InControl, so that's going to be an exciting matchup for sure. And then we also have First Attempt going up against Pride, so some really heavy-hitting teams. It's going to be some great matchups, so we'll see you for that one next week. But for the time being, we've got Ferme, we've got Putin, and we're going to bring him up here for the analyst desk and talk a little bit about what we just saw here.
What's up, people?
How we doing, guys?
What's up, people? We're back, all right? We've been watching the game. So chill. We're chilling, all right? You're not going to see me for the second game, though. We have Pond replacing me for a very good reason, because I need to be producing instead of hanging out here. I need to be working rather than just talking on camera, right? Everyone has their own job to do. Well, quite a dominant performance by InControl. Again, on defender-sided map, starting off in defense, having a clean sweep throughout the first 6 rounds, pretty much. Round after round after round after round, just complete dominance over the map. And, Throne being that site, the defenders were able to take it. You know, once we went over to first attempt, they were able to secure that site win. However, unfortunately, the second round, right, there's just no room for mistake. There's absolutely none, and we could have seen a potential comeback. I mean, I've seen things like 5-1 and then to like 8-7 reversal sweep of the same map. We've seen a little happen, but didn't happen this game, unfortunately. But I'll let you share your thoughts. You asked us to queue round 3. I hope I'm right on this one because
no, I totally meant round 12 of Villa actually.
Oh yeah, okay, guys. So yeah, we've just finished this map. No, you know what? Let's just watch the other one.
All right. So let's go and get into this. So one thing, the reason why I want to put up this round is because this was really showing the defensive gauntlet that InControl was showing. They were literally controlling the entire momentum of Theme Park. So if we look into it now, we see how they have a position was Sledge is playing on the windows, watching the cross on the smoke, who could potentially go hallway. They had the Ash, the Nomad. They had the Zofia going up the yellow. They had all the pinches set up to kill this alibi, to hold the crosses on Malusi, on Smoke. Like, they had everybody locked down. The one thing that still blows my mind is defense still won this. Like, to me, that really shows that the cross angles they have are just impeccable. Like this Jaeger right here, so what he did, he held this angle through drone hole and was shooting the Ash to get a, like, when I saw that, I was like, bro, they're sweating. Man, how are you feeling about this round?
Well, I don't know, May.
Don't talk to me. I'm doing a game switch over right now.
Okay. I didn't know who wanted to go, but I'll sort of talk about it for sure. I think the Smoke's position right here is honestly a lot stronger than the Sledge's position when they're contesting each other on that window. Especially with the way that the servers are right now in the Rainbow Six community. I know it's been a hot topic, but you're going to have a little bit of like a peeker's advantage almost. So the Smoke is going to be able to hit the head a lot more consistently than that than that Sledge. Just if you've ever played that position, it's a matter of who can hold the better angle, and the better angle is just simply the Smoke due to vision. I do like the drone hole play that you mentioned there by the Jaeger, because no matter what you end up doing, any HP that you can bleed off an operator is very important, because later on down the line, you know, if somebody's trying to clutch up, them being at 50 HP on the opposite team is going to be a lot easier than 100. So that's a huge position to play as well. And just InControl, honestly, was so dominant on their defensive rounds. They went 6-0 on the split. So not much more I can say than that. Honestly, it's just so strong. And the attackers really just sort of fed into their positioning. I think they just had superior positioning. They knew what angles to hold, and then took control. Even though first attempt might have had the intel, they just walked into it, I would say. But
it's so true. It's like the way that they had their defenses set up, they had it as a bait, so to speak. So this wall right here was opened up towards the balcony, and so Jaeger was able to get free control all across right here, which is what led them to think, oh, backside push. That's going to be easy, right?
Right.
So what ended up happening, like I was saying, they had the angle on the drone hole. Malusi was watching the stairs, and then Mute, he was able to just get anything else that wasn't covered. And like the Smoke holding the cross on the hallway, it was a bait that they fell into that led to their downfall and led to more momentum loss. It was very unfortunate to see, but very nice to see that kind of play style from them.
Yeah, it was beautifully executed. It's almost sort of I wouldn't really call it a bait and switch strategy, because that's a little bit more involved. But the way they set themselves up was beautiful. But I think what first attempt needs to potentially look at in the future is being a little bit more adaptive with their attacking strategies, because I think that's where they fell a little bit flat in both maps today, was their attacks. And just out of the nature where they tried committing to, one side of things. If we go back all the way to Villa, they were trying to commit to that sort of game room push when they already were getting held down by like 3-way angles into that. And then same thing on Theme Park, they were just pushing one side when you have time, you need to make the switch over. But here we are. This is round number 8, I do believe.
7.
Right here.
So... 7, that's the only... Oh
no, this is 8.
It needs to be 7.
No!
I know, right? Every time.
Oh my god.
Every
All
time.
Right.
Here. There. I'm gonna switch it over. I know, right? That's what you get for putting me on both desk and production. I can't.
Hey,
you're doing
you
a
did it to
great
yourself,
job.
man. You did it to yourself, May. But yeah, you're doing phenomenal. No matter what happens,
Let's go. Okay,
you're still number one.
where is? Okay, there we go. I got it. You know what?
You got it?
Yo, got him.
Let's go.
Got him. Fixed.
Yeah. So here's the reason why I chose this round. I chose this round because this is going to be the momentum round. Whoever wins this is going to carry the momentum. We saw later on that the momentum ended up going back into InControl. However, we did see a great attempt from first attempt. They had a really great first attempt on defense. They kept control. They literally did a thrown hold very well. And then one thing that I want to point out is for the attack of InControl, they did a typical sledge shooting into people from the balcony. They did the Maverick, who is set up outside of the wall, thrown wall. But one thing that I want to point out is the way that they had their roam clear set up top floor, the 3 people on the balcony, the Jaeger playing inside of Coffee, and then the Mozzie playing inside of, I am really blanking on this room, outside of Bunk.
Daycare?
But daycare, that's the term. There you go.
Look at
I
me.
appreciate you.
Hey, no problem.
So they had it set up to basically just fall back and play as roamer should. But if we look over here, they didn't have anybody watching the backside, which really led to them just wasting a lot of time and resulting in that round win. How do you feel that round went, Saku?
I think that first attempt did everything that they needed to. It did come down a little bit close, I would say, towards the end of the round, once a couple frags did come in on the side of InControl. But that's the way that you really need to hold this site nowadays. I mean, when this map rework first came out, you saw a whole lot of turtling even in the pro league scene because no one really knew exactly the best ways to roam. But we've sort of adapted that to make it look almost as if you're playing second floor in a way, but you have your 2 or 3 operators up top, which in this case was the Jaeger and his buddy up there. And all you're really doing is playing for time. If you just continually fall back, you keep taking a couple pot shots here and there, you are delaying the offensive very effectively because the attack's not going to push straight in and risk losing a body when you have potentially a strong cross angle, especially onto that cash room door is probably the most notable angle that you could hold from second floor. And then if you fall back and drop down into bottom arcade, it's really effective if they commit to that one-sided push. But at the same time, if you start seeing people come in through drug lab and it's going to be a really horizontal like first floor push, then you can very easily rotate those 2 players to the top arcade. You have angles down onto them. They won't really suspect things. So it's pretty cool. I think it's a good way to hold things, and it showed up really effective.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think we saw 100% win rate on Throne. Am I wrong?
Yeah, so the defenders won twice. So InControl went there round 1, I believe, and round 4. When they made a 3-set rotation, they decided not to go to daycare. I believe, yeah, they didn't go to daycare. Daycare was only played once by a first attempt, and then unfortunately lost that round, which was the last round of the game. Throne was won round 1, round 4, and then round 7 by first attempt. So that side is just unbelievably strong at the moment.
Yeah, it really is strong because if we look at their lineup, they have the Cade, they have the Mute, so they have plenty of wall denial, drone denial, and they have the Malusi. There is so much utility burn that you have to do before you even start executing. Plus, you got to worry about these 2. It's like the way that they had their operator lineup was very effective, which resulted in the Throne win.
Well, guys, honestly, we can talk about this game all we want, right? We just had an exciting game, 6-8, tons of information we could talk about, and also a dominant victory by InControl. We're not gonna spend way too much time on it from now on. It's been pretty fun chatting. We're actually going to be switching over to our game 2, which is going to be between Hostile Actions and Visionary. Hostile Actions, we've seen them play last week against Pride, and Pride took both maps, and Visionary had a very long barn burner game. I remember there was a 34 rounds. Yeah, that was 34-round game, double overtime on both maps. Just quite excited. I'm going to be leading to you guys to my friend Chief and Al, but unfortunately Al is currently offline at the moment, so Soko and Chief are going to carry the show for a little longer. Well, from me, I really hope you guys kind of enjoyed this new feature that we're slowly introducing to SCS. Of course, this is our first day debuting it. There's a lot of things that we should polish, and this is like a little bit of a stress test. We want to see how it works. We're gonna watch it back, see what we can improve, see what needs to be done as well. And I just hope you're here with us for this interesting process of us kind of creating new things when it comes to T3 NA scene. But anyhow, let's just check if Chief is ready to go.
I brought him up here, May. Don't you worry, man. I'm
there
on
you go.
it
There
for
you go.
you
There you
today.
go. I mean, I see
I
his
got your
camera. I
back.
see his camera on my second screen. So I'm like, okay, look at me. Look at me. All right, man. It's been exciting to be here with you guys. We're gonna be transitioning to the next screen, and I hope to see you guys stick around for the next 2 maps between Hostile Actions and Visionary. Again, thank you so much. You don't see me often, and I just hope you guys had a really enjoyable time with us here today. All right, guys, let's move on.
All right.